Greg Ehrenberg from Odd Chopper here to break down the Saturday NBA slate. Do me a favor while you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as per usual, leave a comment below with anything that you are betting on for today, or just any comments or thoughts you have about the bets that I'm placing. Any comments, they're always appreciated. I always read them and like to respond to them, and it's just stuff that helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and it's no cost to you. We're putting out free content, so stuff like comments, likes, subscriptions does go a whole long way to helping us out. And if you guys want even more information from all the guys we have in the YouTube channel, we've got a Discord channel. You can get 1 week free access by clicking on the link below. And that's where I really could place my most valuable NBA bets of the day. Not because I don't try to place my best bets when I'm here on YouTube, but the best value in NBA happens as news arises, and I'm not always doing a video at the time that news breaks. So just recapping something that happened yesterday, for instance, we saw Anthony Davis was downgraded to questionable during the day, ended up playing in the game, but was still clearly not 100%. He was pretty visibly limited, and there was points in the time where he had to come off the court because he was sick during the game. So yesterday, when I saw that Anthony Davis was questionable, his status was in the air, I bet the Lakers at minus 170, or I bet against the Lakers, bet the Kings at minus 175. And I also added everybody in the Discord, told them to do the same. That ended up being my biggest NBA bet of the day, and ended up winning outright. So I had the Kings minus 175, won some money on that. And if you guys want access to that kind of information in our Discord channel, you can check it out 1 week for free by clicking on the link below in the description box. Now, recap of the prop bets I had yesterday. Went 1 and 2 on those. One that won was Jason Tatum under 5.5 assists. Jason Tatum, to me, that number was pretty far off the 5.5 assists. He's only gone for 6 or more assists 2 games the entire year. Now, the other 2 bets I had, one was Koloko for over 4.5 rebounds. This one was a little annoying to me. He had 2 rebounds in the first minute of the game and then was at 4 going into the fourth quarter. And what happens? The game's a blowout. He doesn't play towards the tail end of the game. So we did end up losing that by the hook in the blowout situation. And the other one, I had under 14.5 points for Javon Carter. Dude was just making everything last night. He ended up making like 70% of his 3-point attempts. So that one ended up being a loss. Didn't feel like that one was a great bet in hindsight. The Koloko one, I liked. I think he would have gotten there if not for the blowout. And the Tatum one ended up winning. But 1 and 2 overall for the day. And then had some winning bets over there in the Discord channel. Also had some other bets that came through in Discord as well. I had a Josh Giddey plus 225 to have more assists than, who was it on the other side of the game? It was Josh Giddey to have more assists than Scotty Barnes in the Toronto OKC game. So overall, there were some good bets that were posted in Discord as well. But let's talk about the Saturday slate and the best bets that are on tap for Saturday morning at the time I'm looking at the slate. I'm good.
It's a Stokastic NBA Deeper Dive for Saturday, November 12th. I'm Rinpack. He shipped my money DFS. Here we are talking about an NBA 6-game slate. Adam, how was your Friday night?
Good. I went to bed early, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, no, it was fine. I got killed in DFS. Fell asleep before the slate was even over. It wasn't worth watching anything.
Yeah, I also didn't have that hot of a DFS day. I got burned by the Grayson Allen, I don't know, non-COVID illness late scratch, which was annoying, but it is what it is. I'm due for those throughout. Happened to be yesterday, but here we are, 6-game slate. For all of you who are tuning in on this Saturday, if you guys can hit that like and subscribe button right next to that notification bell, that'd be awesome. It would help us go a long way. And here we are taking on Toronto. First game, Toronto takes on Indianapolis, the Pacers, and Toronto's 2-point dogs taking on Indiana. I believe that's Toronto should be favored by 2. If you could, no, Indiana's favored by 2 right now. I wonder why Indiana's favored by 2. That's a really interesting line. But 229.5 total. On the Toronto side of things, they continue to deal with some injuries. But there's Van Vliet, there's Scotty Barnes, and OG Anunoby. But last night we saw a Boucher explosion. And Fred Van Vliet didn't finish that game off last night. But this Toronto team continues to play without Siakam and Achua. So there's some interest in going to some of these guys. But they're priced up 8-2, 7-9, and 7-3. And they're 9K, 7-7, and 8-5 on FanDuel. So they are priced up for without no Siakam. this Toronto team was fun to roster when these guys are a little cheaper, but now I feel like we're kind of hitting their ceiling. But it's a great Indiana matchup. So, how do we look at these Toronto Raptors tonight?
I'm still interested in them here. Obviously, the Van Vliet news is huge. He's 8,200 on DraftKings. He's averaged about 1.25 DraftKings points per minute without Siakam this year. So if he's good to go, I think he's one of the better guard options on this slate, the way things look right now. He's projected to pull about 24% ownership, which seems fine. And then if he's out, I don't know exactly what they do with the starting lineup. My guess is Malachi Flynn starts, but it could be Banton. It could be neither of them. So yeah, like Nick Nurse mixes that up sometimes, but we have seen him go to Malachi Flynn in the past. So you have the potential, if he's out, to get a $3K flat, or in the case of Banton, a $3,300 starter, in addition to increased productivity for Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, and Gary Trent. If Van Vliet is in, I think he's the preferred option, but Anunoby, Barnes, Trent are all still going to look good. And then you mentioned Chris Boucher. I don't want to read too much into what we saw yesterday, just because that was always on the table as something that could happen. And some of it was garbage time as well. So it's certainly possible that Boucher was going to close that game out anyway, but it's not a guarantee. But I think that, it is still a really good matchup. He is still reasonably priced at 5,300. He's projected for 12% ownership right now. So I would be perfectly fine going back to that. Alternatively, if you wanted to take a shot instead at a $3,200 Thad Young or a $3,900 Porter and hope that they get the minutes, they don't give you the same point per minute production that Boucher does, but they're also available at a fraction of the ownership.
Yeah, and this is another injury situation being played out here. Yeah, great value call-outs there with the potential Van Vliet situation. But can we go back to Boucher again, or should we just stay away? I mean, we certainly can, but it seems like kind of a stay away situation where the recency bias ownership might be a little bit high. I know we have a projected in the teens right now, low teens, but on both sides. Talk to me specifically about Boucher. He's always like we talked on yesterday. He's fun to roster, but Nick Nurse always just kind of fucks with his minutes.
Yeah, I mean, with it being a 6-game slate and a good matchup against Indiana, I'm fine going back to him here. 12% ownership, I don't think is anything too crazy. You just have to understand that there's always the risk that Boucher is going to play like 18 minutes and that you're going to get burned. But it's not like you're getting, crazy 30 or 35% ownership. So as long as that's the case, I'm fine going back to him.
Appreciate that. And hit that like and subscribe button. Also, shout out to our sponsor at BetMGM. We'll have a very special offer to talk about them later in the show. Any other final Raptors thoughts before we move on to Indiana?
Just to reiterate that the Van Vliet news is going to really shape this team.
Yeah, shape not only this team, I think it's probably one of the most important news aspects on the slate today. Do you think this will be the foundation to our lineups based on what happens with Van Vliet? On the Indiana side we go, and it's the Tyrese Halliburton show in Indiana, and Miles Turner has been back and been playing a ton of minutes, and he's blocking every single shot he can. And Halliburton's 8'9", 8,800 and $36 on Yahoo, which looks pretty awesome over there. I also like Miles Turner. Turner comes in at 63, 7,100 and only 28 on Yahoo. He looks really strong on Yahoo. Also, where you get that block bonus. It's just really these two guys for me. It's just Rick Carlisle really has been messing around with some minutes. Buddy Hield is priced up where I kind of want to stay away at 6'6" and 7'3". Mathurin can always get hot off the bench, but he's so scoring dependent. It's just you're really depending on if he's on a heater or not. But he's shown this time and time again to start the season off that Mathurin can definitely score. But I like Halliburton and Turner, and I'm just kind of shrugging my shoulders everywhere else. How do you feel about the rest of this team? I know the rest of this team is getting some not significant ownership, but ownership that's in the teens right now, the way things stand.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of to echo your point, I think the priorities here are going Miles Turner number one for me, followed by Halliburton. The rest of this team, I think, is sort of going to depend on what other news we get. Right now, we just haven't gotten a lot of news that's opened things up. And if that were to continue, then sure, you can take some shots on an Isaiah Jackson at 4,100, probably playing like 18 minutes behind Miles Turner. You can take some shots on Jalen Smith and hope you get the 30-minute game instead of the 18-minute game, or TJ McConnell playing 14 to 16 minutes behind Halliburton, Nembhard at 3,900. But none of those guys are going to be exciting. It's just if other value doesn't open up, they're going to fit into some lineups because of what they'll let you do elsewhere. But as soon as we start to get other value, as soon as we start getting guys ruled out, whether that's, Alec Burks or Van Vliet or, other guys, you're going to be losing a lot of exposure to those fringe Indiana guys, whereas Miles Turner, I think, is going to look like a priority pretty much no matter what. His price tag's jumped a little bit from last slate, but he's still pretty wildly underpriced. The guy's averaging around 1.3 DraftKings points per minute this year. He has about a 25% usage rate. He's blocking a ton of shots, like you said. He just looks really, really good. And if you look at his last game, it kind of reinforces like how underpriced he is. He kind of looked like he was going to disappoint us because he got in early foul trouble, and that's really the risk that you're running with Turner, is that he gets in foul trouble. But because he's so cheap, he was able to get in foul trouble and then just come back and destroy his salary anyway. And I think you kind of see the same thing here at 6,300. He's just completely mispriced for his current role on this team. Halliburton, obviously, really, really good this year as well. He's at least at a price point where there's other good players around him, but he looks really good. And then Buddy Hield probably playing 34 to 36 minutes. More of like a last guy in, mid-range guy for me. Like, I'm more excited to get the Halliburton and Turner, clearly, but minutes should be there for Hield.
Yeah, and just in this game overall, just keep an eye on the news with Van Vliet. I know it's the other side of things, but the way the line sticks out right now, it seems like he might miss it. But I don't want to assume anything until we get that news for sure. But no, you wrapped up the Pacers situation there. A lot of important news on the Toronto side of things and some intriguing guys with the Pacers. But hit that like and subscribe button. We should go on to the Boston Detroit side of things. There's a bunch of injury news here as well. For Detroit, for Boston, as they're traveling to Detroit here. Al Horford is ruled out back-to-back situation. They played last night. Malcolm Brogdon is ruled out. It's a hamstring injury. Jaylen Brown is questionable with the left knee injury. And that's really important because the only real guy who doesn't have an injury designation that I'm excited to roster is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is 10-1 and 10-3 on DraftKings and FanDuel, respectively. He's 45 on Yahoo. Man, a lot of things are indicating that Tatum should be an outstanding play yet again on the slate. You can expect him to play around mid-30s minutes. We have him at 35.6 minutes from the Data and Tools team. I think that looks pretty solid. And for some instance, if there is no Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum might shoot the ball 40 times this game. And $10,100 and $10,300 is just going to be too cheap. But Jaylen Brown being questionable is that key significant situation here. There's no Al Horford. Grant Williams should expect to play more minutes. We've seen Sam Hauser also get some run. Blake Griffin has started a game when there's no Al Horford. How do we expect that front court rotation to kind of map out with no Al Horford tonight, Adam?
Yeah, I expect it to kind of be a mess. So the last game that Horford missed, you got the Blake Griffin start, but that was a game that Luke Cornett was out. Cornett's been the primary backup, at least recently, to Horford. So I'm guessing he starts, but I mean, they could do a variety of things. So I'm not overly confident in that. But if you look at the rotation they went with in that game against the Knicks, you got like 16 minutes from Blake Griffin. You got like 16 minutes from Noah Vonleh behind him. And then the rest, went to the smaller lineup. I think you could see something similar here. Maybe a little bit more run for Luke Cornett since they have actually been using him in the rotation. He does have power forward eligibility at 3K flat as well. So there's at least the potential for him to be a good value option if he starts. But those minutes are still going to be kind of risky. I agree with you that Grant Williams should probably get some more run. He's been in the starting lineup the last 3 games. He's played about 38, I think 20, and then 32 minutes last night. The minutes should just be even more solidified for him. And then also with Brogdon out and Horford out, because the Celtics will play some small lineups, you can get more minutes for the combination of Derek White, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard. All of these guys are really cheap. And while the minutes are probably going to depend, at least in part, on how these guys are playing, when Peyton Pritchard's getting 6.5% ownership at 3,100, that's kind of interesting to me just because if he plays well, there's no reason he can't play more minutes. Same goes for Hauser at 3,400, getting 16% ownership. White, 4,300, getting 13%. I think there's a really good chance that one of those guys steps up and just looks really, really good at that price.
Yeah, I think they're okay to go to. I don't think I'm that bullish on them. Now they look a little better without Jaylen Brown. The Jaylen Brown situation, obviously, like you said, kind of will dictate everything. Do you still have some interest in them with Jaylen Brown playing if he does play?
Yeah, because I think there's a good chance one of those guys is closing. I don't think it's a guarantee that Cornett or Vonleh or Griffin are in the closing lineup. It wouldn't be surprising at all if you get, for example, a Marcus Smart, Derek White, Brown, Tatum, Grant Williams lineup, and Derek White looks good. Or, if Hauser is playing well, it's Hauser instead of White. So I still think there's a path to one of those guys closing if Brown is in. If Brown is out, then obviously there's a lot of minutes available, and those guys are just going to look even better.
Yeah, and like the Van Vliet situation, I do think the Jalen Brown news piece is almost as important here. I have no idea if he's going to play or not, but I think Adam did a great job breaking that down. If Jalen Brown does play, I'll have some interest in him just because of the way he's priced. I think there might be a little bit lower ownership. He's 8,500 on DK, 8,200 on FanDuel. It's a little on the higher side of things, but man, he's been pretty darn awesome this season. There's already some about 30% of ownership, projected ownership right now to him over there on FanDuel. So he's only $34 on Yahoo. So I'll have some interest in him just because he has this upside. Detroit is pretty darn awful defensively. So I'll like him if he does play. And I do think he's going to be a full go if he does play, but keep an eye on that injury news situation. Any final thoughts on Boston before we move on to the Pistons side of things?
Just to reiterate, and I know you mentioned it, but in addition to all of those guys getting more run if Jalen Brown is out, Jason Tatum is just going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's played 110 minutes without Brown on the floor this year, has a 35% usage rate over that time. So again, just he's going to look good no matter what, but if Brown's out, even better.
Yeah, agreed there. Yeah, Tatum looks outstanding as is, but yeah, if the news breaks the right way for him, he could be even better. On to the Detroit side we go. We got news right before we started that Cade Cunningham will continue to miss games out with a shin injury. He'll be missing 4 more games, I think, including this one. So Cade Cunningham is out. Marvin Bagley is probable to make his season debut. Alec Burks is questionable due to conditioning because he is on the back end of a back-to-back. He did play last night, did shoot the ball a bunch. So keep an eye on that situation of what happens with Alec Burks. And last night we saw with no Cade Cunningham, we saw Corey Joseph get the start, get in a ton of foul trouble, and then Killian Hayes had one of his better fantasy games as a Detroit Piston since he's been drafted. Essentially, looked pretty awesome in terms of a fantasy production there. But with no Cade Cunningham, we had a lot of interest in Ivy yesterday, and I want to go back to him even at $5,700 on DK, 7K on FanDuel. If you don't want to go to him, that's fine. But I think $5,700, he makes for a strong play, as does Bogdanovich at 5,400, where you get that 3-point bonus. Bunch of these starters I'm excited to go to them with no Cade Cunningham and potentially no Alec Burks, but Marvin Bagley coming back will chew into some of the front court minutes. Right, I do think he'll chew into some minutes of Stewart, Bogdanovich, Jalen Duren. So let's talk about the Bagley situation. Him being probable, we touched on this last night. How do you think who does he take away minutes from? Do you think it's Bogdanovich, Stewart, and Duren like I do?
I think it's tough. Like I think it's more likely to be Livers, primarily. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you maybe get like 26 minutes for Stewart, 18 for Duren, the rest of the center minutes going to Bagley, and then he plays 20 total minutes, and a lot of it's alongside one of the centers. I think you could see it go that route. There's a non-zero chance that you get a 3-man center rotation, which would just suck for everybody involved. But I don't think that's as likely. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation that is there's a lot of ways it can go. I don't think they're going to take too many minutes away from Bogdanovich. Like they just extended the guy; he's been playing well. I don't think he's the first to to lose minutes or not, but it certainly. It really just comes down to a question, and we talked about it yesterday, of do they add Bagley to the rotation without removing anybody, in which case it's pretty much just bad for everybody, or do they just put him in place of one of the bench guys like Livers or Diallo, obviously different positions there, but that's really the question is, does he just get added or does he replace somebody?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation just because he's coming back from injury. I do think 20 minutes seems like kind of a ceiling today. It's not like Bagley's in play at $5,300 at that price tag. It's just more of like, how do we get these minutes to break down? Do you think we can take flyers at a $4,100 Bagley tonight on FanDuel? Is that too cute?
Does he have power forward there?
He's power forward and center.
I think you could. I mean, nobody really expected Alec Burks to play 25 minutes last night, I don't think. So there's some chance that Bagley plays more than we're expecting.
And yeah, if he's going to get 25 minutes, man, 25 minutes of Bagley, it's been a decent fantasy point per minute guy in his career. So,
like, I do think that I don't think it's apples to apples because there were obviously a lot of backcourt minutes available for Alec Burks yesterday. The front court is completely healthy right now. So I think it's less likely that Bagley plays as many minutes as Burks did yesterday. But, again, nobody really expected that from Burks either.
For sure. For the FanDuel situation, it's more of a price thing, and Bagley has shown the ability to be a good producer in fantasy production when given the appropriate minutes. So it might be a little too cute on this slate. We'll see what the new situation breaks down in Toronto. Maybe now, let's say for Bagley supposedly starts. Um,
You say starts?
if he starts, and he could start right over Stewart.
I mean, I'd be absolutely shocked, but I guess he could.
Yeah. So I don't. I was trying to track down the news if he was going to start before he got hurt in training camp. So I wonder if Chad has any like remembers what that situation was like in Detroit. But if he starts, I'll have a little bit more interest. Maybe his minutes are maybe like 24 on the high side instead of 20. But very interesting situation. It's going to be annoying when all these guys are healthy of how to pinpoint because Dwayne Casey can really screw with that.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, like if he does start, that kind of answers a lot of our questions, right? Because one, we know who he's starting over. If he's starting over Stewart, that means you're getting some of those center minutes from Bagley. So, and it also suggests that he can play more minutes than we're thinking right now. Like if he starts, I'm perfectly fine giving him like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
again,
I
so
do.
like I don't think he starts, but if he does, then it's a totally different conversation, and he looks really good.
If he does start, I do feel some sort of confidence it's over Stewart. It would shock me if it's over Bogdanovich, but
Yeah.
you never know. But we'll keep an eye on that situation. Let's move on. Let's move to the backcourt. No Kate Cunningham. We saw Corey Joseph start. Killian Hayes looked really good in terms of fantasy perspective, and just overall was dishing the ball really well. Killian Hayes is 4K and 3,600. Just straight up, who would you rather play, Killian Hayes or Corey Joseph?
Killian Hayes. So we didn't get to see what the rotation was supposed to look like yesterday because Corey Joseph was just in massive foul trouble. Picked up 2 fouls a minute into the game, picked up his third foul like 45 seconds after checking back in the second quarter, played a short stint to open the second half and just never came back. My expectation going in was that he was basically just getting a spot start and going to play like probably 3 rotations, get like 18 minutes. He hasn't been in the rotation for this team. And normally the way I view it, when you get somebody that's been kicked out of the rotation and then they insert him into the starting lineup when there's an injury, is that they're just trying to keep the familiarity together with the second unit and just sort of have Joseph, in this case, play, those relatively short stints. But that could be completely wrong. We didn't get to see exactly what they did yesterday because he was in foul trouble. You didn't get much in the second half, but I think it's just likely Hayes plays more minutes than Joseph. It's not like Joseph is a good fantasy producer anyway. 0.78 DraftKings points per minute for Joseph without Cunningham on the floor this year. 0.82 for Hayes. And I just think Hayes is likely to play more minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great breakdown there. I don't think I have much to add. I do prefer Killian Hayes than to Corey Joseph as well. This kind of wraps up. Final thoughts on Bogdanovich and Sadiq Bey. Both look like solid mid-tier plays at 53 and 5,400, both where you get the 3-point bonus there. You prefer Bogdanovich to Bey in any straight-up situation. Over there on FanDuel, Bogdanovich is 54 and Bey is 57. I'd rather take the savings with Boyan. Any final thoughts with the Pistons, like small forwards in Bogdanovich and Bey?
I think they both look fine. We have them projected for the same ownership today. Yesterday, you got like 2x the ownership going to Bey, which I kind of thought was a mistake, but here they're about the same. Just to reiterate, though, because I think it sort of goes without saying, but don't be afraid to go back to Jaden Ivey here. The guy played absolutely horribly yesterday. As a result, he also just didn't play as many minutes as he normally does. Burks ended up playing a few minutes alongside Ivy, but a lot of minutes in his place. I fully think that's because Killian Hayes was playing well and Ivy was playing absolutely awful. I don't anticipate that the actual plan here is to have Alec Burks split minutes with Jaden Ivey while Killian Hayes plays a million minutes, and Corey Joseph plays minutes. So, assuming Jaden Ivey plays like a professional basketball player today, I'm not worried about his minutes. Even after yesterday's showing, he's still at 1.1 DraftKings points per minute without Cunningham on the floor. And then if Burks is out, that's even more solidified because you're going to have Hayes and Joseph basically dealing with 48 minutes together, and it's just going to open up even more for Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, no, Jaden Ivey looks pretty awesome at that $5,700 price tag, and he's fucking fast, man. He's not John Wall, young John Wall fast, but he's up there. He's really, really fast on the basketball court. He has got some elite speed, just with the ball and off the ball. It's pretty impressive to see that. All right, I want to talk about a BetMGM offer that we have. It's pretty darn exciting. So essentially what you guys have to do, if you guys have BetMGM available in your state and you haven't made a paid bet in that state yet, so you can get 2 months of Stokastic Platinum for free. All you got to do is just go to the banner on stokastic.com. Just make sure you have an account made with us. Just follow the step-by-step process there, and boom, you should be rewarded with a 2 months of free Stokastic Platinum. That's well worth over $200, I believe. So make sure to make that deposit at least $10 and do that first paid bet. So make sure the bet settles before you reach out if for some reason you haven't got that Stokastic subscription. So take advantage of this awesome offer. It's only a limited time offer. It might go away. These offers go and come, and make sure to take advantage of it while it's here because it's really, really good. On to the next game we go. Hit that like and subscribe button. Atlanta taking on the 76ers. So the Sixers are 3-point favorites at a 222.5 total. And on the Atlanta side of things, it's Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Trae Young comes in at 10-3. DeJounte Murray comes in at 10K, while on FanDuel it's 10-2 and 9-8. Their prices are flipped. DeJounte Murray is more expensive on FanDuel, and Trae Young is more expensive on DraftKings. They're the same price on Yahoo. So it's for this team, it's always been these two guys. And we saw the same matchup the other night. And with these kind of like baseball scheduling, I always find it really annoying in terms of just how how that affects these players. They're just playing against the same team within the next day. It's like playoff scheduling. But Clint Capella was awesome the other time around when he just played the 76ers team. He's only 6K and 6,100. And the rest of the guys are not getting much ownership. Clint Capella is garnering a ton of ownership at the center spot. I do think the opportunity cost is high when Embiid is still on the slate, getting north of 30% projected ownership on DraftKings and FanDuel, north of 40% on Yahoo. Damn, I want to just kind of shy away. That's a lot of ownership to Clint Capella. Granted, he was really good last time out. I just think I'd be willing to take my chances elsewhere. Granted, there are not that many great centers on the slate, but there is Joel Embiid that I'm looking forward to taking advantage of. I guess we should start with the center in Clint Capella because he's getting so much ownership. How do we tackle that number? That's a pretty high number for Clint Capella.
I love Capella today because Okongwu was out. That to me, that's a huge deal because Okongwu is just getting enough backup center minutes. Typically, he's averaging about 20 minutes per game for the season. They're never playing alongside each other, so it's really, really difficult when Okongwu is active for Capella to just run into more minutes. It happens here and there, but it's really difficult. Now you have Frank Kaminsky. Like, who cares? He's there basically for when Clint Capella needs a break. You'll probably get some John Collins at the 5 as well, with some more minutes coming in to some combination of AJ Griffin, the Holiday brothers, or Jalen Johnson. But I think that you could very easily see Capella go from his 26 or 27 minute average up to 30 plus minutes here. He's averaging 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. So I think he looks really, really good. The one thing I do want to point out, though, is you're getting all of this ownership going into Clint Capella at 6K. John Collins is $200 more. And I think there's a very good chance that you get backup center minutes from John Collins today. Maybe not all of them, but certainly a decent amount. And that's been huge for him throughout his career. His rates across the board, whether it's usage, rebounding, everything goes up for John Collins when he's playing the 5. So I do think this is a spot where he's getting slept on a little bit because, one, there's the potential for him to play more minutes. He's kind of in a similar situation with Jalen Johnson where Collins is playing like 31, 32, maybe 33 minutes most nights because Jalen Johnson's just going to get his 12 to 15. Now Jalen Johnson can get his, and they can just play Collins at the 5 for some more minutes. So it wouldn't surprise me if, in addition to Capella getting more run, maybe John Collins goes from his 32 minutes up to 34, 35, somewhere in there. I think he's getting slept on a little bit, and that the Okongwu news benefits him as well.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. I don't think I'm playing one tournament lineup. I think I stay away from Capella. You bring up excellent points. Yes, no, Okongwu. I just think that ownership's a little too high. There's a lot of ways for him to succeeding. I just think that ownership number is just too high. That's just a personal take. I haven't done any like sims or anything to see what that really comes out to be. But now with no Capella, and you touched on Collins there, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young always have tournament winning upside, but they are coming in sub 10% ownership across the board on all the sites. Do you have a preference in going to one? I think Trae Young has the higher upside potentially. I don't know. It's been a really tough mix and match situation with these two guards, and they're matchup to matchup on which player I prefer, but it's kind of a price tag thing. Maybe I just take the price savings on Trae Young on FanDuel and take the savings on Murray on DraftKings, I do have we have them very projected, very similar within a point or even less than a point of each other. Do you have a preference in Young and Murray? They're so darn close in
Yeah,
projection.
slight preference to Young, but I do think it's really close. Murray's averaging about an extra minute and a half per game. Young averages a little bit more fantasy production per minute. From a roster standpoint, I think this is another spot where you're kind of just in a holding pattern until you see what sort of value opens up on the slate. Because with the news that we have right now and the way everything looks, I think it's just really difficult to get to these guys because when I can pay up, I'm going to be looking to get to Embiid, or if I can, get up to Luka. But and like right now you have Fred VanVleet, for example, who looks really good as a guard option. But like let's say VanVleet's ruled out, you lose him. Let's say Jaylen Brown's ruled out, you lose him at $8,500. Then suddenly you're getting a bunch of cheap guys that open up, and you're also losing some of the best guard plays on the slate. So depending on how news breaks, I could see being really interested in the combination of Young and Murray by the time the slate starts. Right now, my priorities are Capella and Collins.
Yeah, no, it's just I think they're just like because there's Luka on the slate, the opportunity cost of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray seems a bit high, but it's not going to take much to get over the field on these guys. So, any final thoughts on the secondary guys? DeAndre Hunter being the only secondary guy I have any interest in, but he's always never that fun to roster. Should we be taking some chances on Kaminsky at that price tag?
You can, like, again, I don't think he plays all the backup center minutes, but if he does, like if the bull case, I guess, for Kaminsky is Capella plays 30 minutes, Kaminsky plays 18. You have a 3K power forward, Kaminsky gets hot from three. Like, he can certainly give you a good game. I just think it's more likely that Kaminsky plays something like 12, Collins plays, 6 or something. So yeah, I mean, the fact that Kaminsky's getting 1% ownership makes him mildly interesting, but I'm still going to end up projecting this out where he doesn't play all the backup center minutes, which probably means I won't get there. And then if he does happen to have the big game, I'll just be pissed off because it is an interesting spot at basically no ownership. I just am relatively confident that you're getting John Collins at the 5.
We just got confirmed Alec Burks is out, so keep an eye on the data and tools for an update there. That should be happening within minutes. So keep an eye on that situation there. And Marvin Bagley is available to play. No other note on that if he's starting or not, but just keep an eye on that situation. On to the Philadelphia side we go. There's Joel Embiid. No James Harden yet. Continues to be out. Embiid 11-1, 10-5. Only $45 on Yahoo. I like a lot, like a significant amount over there. That's really cheap for Joel Embiid. Embiid looks outstanding yet again. I do think his ownership is sub 20% on both DraftKings and FanDuel right now. I like getting above the field on a guy like Embiid. I know he wasn't that great last time out in this Atlanta matchup, but there's no Harden. I still got to take my chances on Joel Embiid. And how do you feel about Embiid at this 11-1 and 10-5 price tag on DK and FanDuel? Is that something that you'd be willing to also go above the field on?
Yeah, I mean, he's been relatively disappointing this season, but the opportunities are still there. He's averaging about 34 and a half minutes per game. Without Harden on the floor, he's played 119 minutes, 1.24 DraftKings points per minute. That's not where you would like it to be. It's obviously not bad, but it should be higher. But he still has a 37.8% usage rate. Sooner rather than later, you're just going to get these massive games from Joel Embiid, especially with him playing as many minutes as he is. So 15% ownership right now, extremely reasonable to me. You kind of mentioned it earlier. Center is not the best position tonight. There's a couple of really good options in Miles Turner and Clint Capella, and Embiid obviously up there as well. But it is only a 6-game slate. You have not the best centers in most spots. So it's a little bit easier to get to him in general, I think, than it normally is as well.
Agreed. And we'll see what value can open up with the VanVleet situation, maybe even with Jaylen Brown being out. So there could be a much easier pathway to get him in our lineups with not so much gross value, but we'll see how that breaks down. On to the next Philly guys. There's Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, and DeAnthony Melton. All are kind of priced up 8K, 7.5, and 6,400, 7,758 and 7,700 for Maxey and 5,800 for Melton over there, while Harris comes in at 7,800. My preference is going to always be Maxey over Harris. Melton, seems kind of priced appropriately now. He's getting quite a bit of ownership on FanDuel, so a situation I do think that will change as news breaks up until lock. But Harris Maxey has that upside 8K. He's going to have that usage 7.7. I like getting to some Maxi. It seems like the field has it right now. 30% on FanDuel, while 20% on DraftKings projected ownership. It seems right. I don't think that's I don't have any lean to go that much under him or that much over him. What's your sentiment on Maxi?
The ownership right now is kind of weird to me just because like I would rather play Van Vliet for 200 more if he's good to go. I like Halliburton a little bit more if you can find the $900, but you do know you're going to get a lot of minutes out of Maxi. He does have a 28.9% usage rate this year when Embiid has been on the floor and Harden's been off. He's averaged about a fantasy point per minute. So I still think Maxi is fine. I'm kind of surprised that the ownership is not a little bit lower, just given that, Van Vliet is still in at the moment. As far as the Anthony Melton goes, he's one that I really have no idea what to make of this guy under the current conditions, because for one, he's questionable for this game, but assuming that he plays, you're probably getting around 30 minutes from him in the starting lineup. For his career, he's been around a fantasy point per minute guy. The issue is that he's played 94 minutes this year with Joel Embiid on the floor and Harden off. He has a 9.7% usage rate, and he's averaged 0.68 DraftKings points per minute. And that price tag has come up to account for the games that he played without Embiid and without Harden, and for the fact he's playing more minutes. If he's a fantasy point per minute guy, playing around 30 minutes at 6,400, then fine. That's like a correct price. If he's going to just disappear behind Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid from an offensive standpoint, then he's pretty wildly overpriced and getting ownership here. So I don't really know what to make of him, but the fact that he is still projected to get some ownership makes me kind of hesitant to go to him.
We just got word Van Vliet is out. So
All right.
with the situation of that Van Vliet pivot is kind of off the board now. I know you broke it down quickly of what you think might happen. Do you want to give like a quick 30-second summary with Van Vliet out? That gives a boost to, I think we get some extra ball handling duty for Scotty Barnes and extra usage for both Barnes and OG. But the rest of the situation, some Banton potentially, more extra usage to Gary Trent. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. Did I miss anything there?
No, so we'll have to see who's going to start here. My guess is Flynn, but honestly, I have no idea. It could be Banton, it could be Flynn, it could be Gary Trent at point and somebody else, Scotty Barnes at point and somebody else, spot starting. So they could go a variety of ways. Like they can go with one of the wings / bigs if they wanted to. I mean, they could start Boucher if they wanted to. And we've seen Nurse, kind of go that route in the past. But with Siakam already being out, that's why I'm leaning towards them going with one of the guards. But since the start of last year, without Siakam and Van Vliet on the floor, Gary Trent's got a 28.5% usage rate. He's averaged about a fantasy point per minute. Barnes is at a fantasy point per minute. I do think you probably see that go up a bit going forward. OG Anunoby, 26.3% usage rate, a fantasy point per minute without those guys on the floor. So it just makes everybody look a little bit better. And then, clearly you can give more minutes to whoever is replacing Van Vliet in the starting lineup.
Yeah, important news situation there. Keep an eye on the starters, and keep an eye on keep listening to us on Live Before Lock, as there will be a more definite breakdown of what after we get the starters there, as that's the first game to tip off tonight.
One other thing to mention, Mike Gray said that unless it's Boucher starting, they're like kind of useless. That's not entirely true.
I don't think so. I think there's some solid price points that we can be targeting with.
Yeah, it's
Banton.
like it depends who it is, but most of the candidates that would start at this point are actually pretty useful since Siakam is also out. They need to soak up minutes. Fred VanVleet's playing 37 minutes a game. It's not the same situation as when just one of these starters is out and you can just kind of fill the void with several different guys. Malachi Flynn without Siakam or VanVleet on the floor since last year, 0.95 DraftKings points per minute for him. Delano Banton, 0.93. Boucher 1.02. Obviously if he starts, he's going to look great. So none of these guys are like your Svi Mikhailuk type spot starter. Thad Young's a fantasy point per minute guy. Otto Porter obviously hasn't been on the team that long, but he's not a horrible fantasy producer either. So pretty much all of the likely candidates to step in are actually pretty close to fantasy point per minute players.
Yep, back to Philly we go. I know you're wrapping up some Maxi thoughts there, but you were talking on Melton. I guess we didn't get to talk on Tobias Harris. He's just kind of priced out for me the way things stands. He's not getting that much ownership. I rather prefer going to Embiid or Maxi if I was going to pay up, but Tobias Harris definitely has some sort of upside within him. I just think he's priced appropriately. It's like if he falls in some of my lineups, sure, I'm not like aggressively making sure I get a ton of Tobias Harris tonight. Wrap up your Tobias Harris thoughts, and do you want to touch on anyone else on the Sixers? We saw some Shake Milton rotation run last time, but that's really about it. Wrap up Tobias Harris and the Sixers for us.
Yeah, nothing really else from the Sixers. If you land on some Harris, that's fine. But um, there's nothing else really there. Do keep an eye on the Anthony Melton status. If he's out and you get like Matisse Thybulle starting, you probably don't need to care all that much. If you were to get like Niang or Korkmaz or Milton starting, those guys at least have some semblance of fantasy value when they're on the floor. So they'd be a little bit more interesting. But it seems like we're going to end up with plenty of value other than, the eighth best guy on the Sixers anyway.
Gotcha. All right. If everyone can hit that like and subscribe button, that'd be awesome. Also, for those of you guys are new watchers or haven't been able to experience the Stokastic NBA product offering, make sure to go to stokastic.com/join-NBA. There's a free 3-day trial for new users. Take advantage of that. Get access to all of our projections, ownership projections, super awesome boom bust tool. That's a fan favorite, and some exciting lineup generator tools that are really helpful to enhance your your lineup building experience. So Stokastic data and tools teams is by far the number one team that's out there. They're working night in and night out, pretty much every single hour that there are sports happening. They're making updates to our projections. So go to stokastic.com/join-NBA to get your 3-day trial. Also, now let's go on to Charlotte taking on Miami. And I believe in this game, Charlotte has Dennis Smith is questionable, and LaMelo Ball is expected to make his debut. And Charlotte is 9.5-point road dogs with the 213.5 total. We get LaMelo Ball back, but I don't think we get the full version of him as he's coming back from a pretty big injury. Dennis Smith rolled his ankle really bad. I'm more like the questionable to out perspective. I don't think Dennis Smith Jr. plays, but he's questionable right now. But we'll see what that final ruling is. LaMelo Ball is back, and I'm excited, but I don't think I can go to him today just because it's not like there's no injury discount or anything. He's 9.2, 8,500, $35 on Yahoo. Terry Rozier is expensive and kind of ruins Terry Rozier. He's 8,600, 8K, and 33 on Yahoo. If you want to play him on Yahoo, sure. But LaMelo Ball coming back just ruins everything really for us because he just soaks up so much usage. And he's going to be able to facilitate for the first time even more. There's no Miles Bridges as there was all of last year. It's kind of a new Charlotte rotation that LaMelo Ball is going to be leading. Give us the picture with LaMelo Ball being ruled back in, and how do you think this affects the rest of the Hornets starting five?
Yeah, kind of disappointed that he's coming back today because I was actually interested in the Hornets here. It's a tough matchup, but they had run a really fantasy-friendly rotation in their last game where the starters just played huge minutes, and I thought there was a chance maybe we would see that again today. But with Ball coming back, combined with those price tags like you mentioned, it just becomes really difficult to want to get to anything. I don't know if LaMelo starts or comes off the bench or whatever, but I assume he's capable of playing at least like 24 minutes or so, or they would just probably hold him out until he was. Normally when you see star players come back, it's not like, oh, we're going to ease him in for 12 minutes and or anything like that. So I'm expecting whether he starts or comes off the bench that you're getting at least, decent run out of him, enough to very likely screw up the production from an $8,600 Terry Rozier or a $6,500 Kelly Oubre. As a result, the only guy on this team that I actually think is interesting is Mason Plumlee at 5,200. We have kind of seen his minutes trending up a bit. That was capped with the 38-minute game last time out. He's not a bad point per minute guy. It's not the best center slate. He's the only guy on this team getting any ownership, and I do think it makes some sense.
Yeah, and it's just I kind of want to make this kind of a wait and see approach. Can certainly one of these guys be really good / must have? Sure, certainly can be. There's just so many better value places, I think, in Toronto I want to target. We touched on some nice spots in Indiana. It might be my least favorite spot on the slate in terms of a team perspective to go to. So with me being say that, I'm sure the rest of the field is thinking that as well, with the ownership being the way it is. It's no one is projected north of even 12% on DraftKings and FanDuel. Some a little bit. No one's even projected more than 10% on Yahoo. So everyone has this similar sentiment. So there is some merit in tournaments, but Dennis Smith being even if Dennis Smith Jr. is ruled out, I just think LaMelo Ball soaks up at least 75% of those minutes, even if he's on a minutes limit. So it's just a tough situation to go here. Any final thoughts on the Hornets before we move on to the Heat?
No, I'm with you as far as they seem like the least appealing team we've talked about.
Yeah, and just the price, everything put together, and even the data suggests that as well. So I'll lean with that. On the Heat side, we go. It's Jimmy Butler. He has been awesome. I mean, in terms of just consistently just playing really good basketball, fantasy basketball as well for us as well. He's $9,100, $9,300. He's expensive. Last time I said I prefer Bam than Jimmy, and I'm going to say it again. I prefer Bam to Jimmy just because of the savings I get. 81 to 93 on FanDuel. The difference between Bam and Jimmy, $8,300 and $9,100. The difference between Bam and Jimmy over there. $10 difference on Yahoo. Tyler Hero is still questionable. Tyler Hero, where to play, he kind of just ruins a lot for this team. And Dwayne Dedman's also questionable for the Heat. I like Bam, and then I like Butler, but if Hero comes back in, I might have some interest in Hero. Hero's expensive at $7,700. The place where I'll have interest in Hero is $7,000 on FanDuel. That seems like a spot to target some Tyler Hero if he were to play, but he is questionable. Break down the Heat situation with Hero in or Hero out.
Yeah, I mean, this is another team where if Hero's in, it's one of the less appealing teams, I think, because you have seen prices increase a bit. I do like that Tyler Hero price tag on FanDuel that you mentioned at 7K. 7,700 on DraftKings looks fine. He does have the highest rebounding percentage on the team other than Bam and Dedman. He's got the highest usage rate on the team. He averages a few minutes less per game than guys like Butler and Bam. Butler is averaging around 1.2 DraftKings points per minute this year. He is relatively expensive, especially if Hero's in, because Hero will cut into his usage rate a bit. But we are getting plenty of value to where that price tag isn't going to matter quite as much. Same can be said for Bam. I think he's a little bit overpriced here at 8,300. But if Dwayne Dedman were to sit, maybe you see a few more minutes from Bam. He's already averaging 35 minutes per game, so I don't want to go too crazy there and just decide he's playing 38 or 39 minutes, but he certainly could. There's not really any bigs behind Dedman. I'm sure they don't want to give Udonis Haslem too many minutes. So you could get a little bit more playing time from Bam. He's averaged a little over a fantasy point per minute this year. That being said, though, I don't really, outside of, just individual lineups because of ownership considerations, I don't really want to pay $2,000 more for Bam than Miles Turner. I think it's going to be difficult to do that. I think it's going to be difficult to pay $2,300 more than for Capella. So that's kind of the issue I run into with Bam.
Yeah, I think you summed it up there. Any interest in the secondary guys, such as your Max Strus or Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin? It's all Hero dependent for me. I think you probably think the same.
Yeah, it's completely Hero dependent. Caleb Martin plays around 28 minutes, probably, give or take. If Hero is in, you could get north of that if Hero's out. Max Strus, probably the same thing, should move into the starting lineup if Hero's out, and he'll look a little bit better. But then you also get, Duncan Robinson at 3,800 that can play more minutes. Gabe Vincent at 4,600 seen plenty of minutes without Hero. So all of those guys from a minute standpoint become a little bit more appealing. Granted, with the value that's opening up on this slate, it's still probably not enough to make them more than secondary options, but that's better than they look if Hero's in for sure.
Agreed there. But we're gonna hit that like and subscribe button. That'd be awesome. Feel free to give Adam a follow at Ship My Money DFS, and you can follow me at Rinpack on Twitter as well. And also follow Stokastic NBA for all the news and notes throughout the night. News Guide is always working hard behind the scenes and all the NBA articles that we have. So make sure to give Stokastic NBA a follow while you're at it. On to Portland taking on Dallas. Portland is 5-point dogs with a total of 217. Portland will get Damian Lillard back as he was out for just kind of calf management as he was coming back from a calf injury. Lillard checks in at 9,600, 8,500 on FanDuel. Really like that 85 price tag. $37 on Yahoo looks fine as well. Anthony Simons is priced up 8,100 over there on DK. This team is very interesting to look at in terms of a pricing perspective. Lillard is expensive at 9.6. Everyone kind of had an explosion game when he was away for that one game against the Pelicans. They all played well, especially Jeremy Grant. Now he's priced up to the point where I look at everyone's price tag and I'm like, I really don't want to go to any of these guys at this price tag. Maybe Nurkic at 7,100 and 7K is the only guy I'm willing to take some chances on, but that's really about it. I mean, Lillard at 8,500 on FanDuel is probably the spot to target, but it is kind of just tough with these guys the way they're priced. How do you feel about this Portland Blazers team with these respective price tags? The price is what's kind of steering away. They all have tournament upside, but at this price tag, there's just so much other better value that we already touched on.
Yeah, and then also, a really slow matchup against Dallas isn't helping their projection either. Probably spoke a little bit too soon when I said I wasn't interested in Charlotte and Miami because Portland looks even worse. But I'm with you. Like, whoever's starting at center is at least mildly interesting. If it's Nurkic, he's 7,100. He's averaging around 29 minutes per game. The issue is that you're going to have a relatively healthy team most likely if Nurkic is in, and we know that they like closing with Justice Winslow over him when they can, and they should be able to if you're going to have Lillard back and Jeremy Grant's good to go and all of that. So that's a concern for Nurkic, but he's still a good enough point per minute guy that he can have a big game at 7,100. If he's out, you get Drew Eubanks most likely starting again, $4,100. He's played 22 and 27 minutes in his couple of starts without Nurkic. That would look like a good value. Beyond that, though, Lillard, particularly on DraftKings, is priced up. FanDuel, there's a bit more value there, like you said. Jeremy Grant's price tag has risen a bit. So has Josh Hart's. So has Simons. It's just really difficult to want to get to much of anything. I guess if Sharp, Nurkic, and Keon Johnson all sat, $4,800 Justice Winslow starts to look kind of nice just because he plays every position, so he can run into more minutes pretty easily. But I don't have much at all that I like from this team.
Interesting. Yeah, they're just really disappointing to look at. So, additionally, I think we should move on to the Dallas side of things. I mean, Luka checks in at 12.6. That's expensive, 12.2 for Luka, but he's battling this elbow thing, which he didn't look himself against Washington, but that was just an eye testing. It doesn't really matter. But 12.6 and 12.2, you got to pay out for nice things, and Luka's definitely damn nice for his fantasy production that we've got so far this season. He doesn't project great as a point per dollar play, but I do think there's enough value to find a way to get him in our lineups. Not that much ownership going to him, which makes him kind of even more intriguing when Luka does have that upside game. But there's Dinwiddie, 6,700. Christian Wood, I believe, is supposedly expected to return today. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, he's probable.
Yeah, he is probable. So with Christian Wood probable, definitely affects the rotation. Tim Hardaway's $4,100 and only $4,500 on FanDuel. I like Luka just because it's Luka Doncic when he's going to be potentially the highest scoring player on the slate. There's a good chance that happens, and there's some solid value to get him in there. Makes a lot of sense to go to him. But the rest of the team, kind of all priced up. I think Hardaway Jr. might be one of the better value plays on this team that's left, but even him, it's kind of thin to go to him.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. If you can get to Luka, great. He's Luka. He's averaging about 1.6 DraftKings points per minute. He's averaging 36.5 minutes per game. All of that looks good. He is also pretty much correctly priced here. And Christian Wood coming back, I think, kind of just ruins most of everything else. We've seen those huge games from Spencer Dinwiddie recently. He has been playing a lot of minutes, and that certainly can still happen, but he's also really benefited from playing every minute that Luka's not on the floor and Christian Wood not being out there to jack up shots the entire time. Now you're going to have Wood back for those really productive minutes for Dinwiddie, which is going to drive down what we can expect Dinwiddie to do. Similarly, you mentioned Tim Hardaway, favorable price tag in the sense that there are just going to be games that Tim Hardaway's shot is falling and he takes a bunch of them and he looks good, but it's really hard to like his chances here when not only does he now have to contend with Spencer Dinwiddie with that second unit, but now he has to contend with Christian Wood as well, making him the pretty clear third option. So I don't like much from this team either.
Yeah, this team kind of sucks as well. Someone's gonna come out here and have a tournament winning. Anyone can really pull it off, but it's really tough with these price tags. But keep an eye on if any late night surprise news breaks down over here. But it's just Luka for me. I'll probably get above the field on him, but even him, he's priced up $57 on Yahoo. If you want to take your chance on $19 Christian Wood, you certainly can do so, and $21 Dinwiddie on Yahoo. If you want to roster some Mavs, those are the places to do so. But on to the Houston and New Orleans game we go. This is a little bit more appealing for me in terms of pace potentially, but Houston comes in traveling to New Orleans, and let me make sure. Houston is 10.5-point dogs and a 233 total. And on the Houston side of things, we get Kevin Porter, Alfred Şengün, and Jalen Green, kind of their big three. And then Jabari Smith's been very disappointing. This guy just does not look like he's ready for the NBA. I'm not sure what's happening with Jabari Smith. He got into that scuffle with Jalen Green, and I think he just lost all his confidence. I don't know what happened after that, but kind of looks out of place. Porter Jr., Şengün, and Jalen Green, 7,600, 6,900, and 63 on DK. I really like Jalen Green's price tag on FanDuel, only $6,000. You're getting a lot of ownership to this Houston team on FanDuel, rightfully so. I think a good pace spot. The total suggests that there's going to be a lot of points in this game, so I'll have interest in those three guys. But the rest of them, I do think one of them, the rest of the guys, I think if you want to take a flyer on Jabari Smith, if he's going to turn things around, you certainly can, because I don't think he's this bad. There's a reason why he's was like pretty much like unanimous top 3 pick in this draft. So how do we attack the Rockets tonight? It's an interesting situation with Jabari Smith and how he's not been able to perform so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's finally a team that I'm interested in. I think the main 3 guys for me are Şengün, Green, and Porter, and that's not me. That's, you know, the field as well. But all 3 of those guys look good. Şengün's averaging 28 to 29 minutes per game as a starter. He's about a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. Jalen Green, scoring dependent, but averaging about a fantasy point per minute this year, just shy of a fantasy point per minute. He is a very capable scorer, inefficient, but, you know, shoots a lot, and he's going to just have those games where he fills it up. 0.95 DraftKings points per minute with a 27% usage rate. And then Porter, a similar usage rate, 26%, 1.08 DraftKings points per minute, leads the team far and away with a 27.8% assist percentage as well. All 3 of those guys look really good. Eric Gordon, averaging 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute, should give you around 30 minutes. He's fine as like a last piece in. To your point with Jalen Smith, like, he is getting to a price tag at 5,500 where I'm mildly interested, just because he's going to have some good games. But the concern that I have is that it hasn't just been that he's played poorly. Like, he has a 43% true shooting percentage, or 44%. That's going to come up. There's just no way he's that bad. But the other issue is he only has an 18% usage rate and a 10.5% rebounding percentage. You have Şengün with a 20% rebounding percentage. Like, those rebounds aren't going to just suddenly start going to Jabari Smith unless he starts playing the 5 again. 18% usage, it's hard to see where he's getting more usage from when you have Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., and Şengün on the floor at the same time. I don't think any of those guys are going to start just giving the ball to Jabari Smith. So that's kind of the issue I run into is, you know, I think he does get more efficient, and, you know, maybe there's a game where he's just knocking down shots and you see his usage rate in that one game go up, which would be great. But it's just really hard to point where exactly the usage comes from for him, because I don't think it's leaving Şengün, Green, or Porter.
Agreed. And as you had an excellent breakdown there, we don't need to touch on any more of the Rockets. I don't think you'll have much interest in Eric Gordon or KJ Martin or
Jalen
Garuba
Brown
by
is
any
out,
chance.
so more
Yeah,
value.
that's what I wanted to get to. Jalen Brown is out. I really like Tatum. We already liked him as is. I think this gives a nice bump to Derek White. Wrap up the rest of this Celtics team in a quick 30 seconds if you can.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of minutes available now. Obviously, Jason Tatum's going to look really good. All the main rotation guys should play a lot of minutes. Marcus Smart looks better without Jalen Brown. Derek White looks better. Peyton Pritchard looks better. Sam Hauser looks better. Yeah, I mean, this team just looks really, really good now. And it certainly doesn't hurt that they're playing the Pistons.
Yeah, no, keep an eye on what the starters look like there. Keep an eye on fresh data update behind the scenes. So, and no, check out a 3-day trial to get access to all this data. So Jalen Brown is out, which is pretty important news there. Let's go on to the Pelicans. The Pelicans are 10.5-point favorites. It's the Brandon Ingram, Zion, and CJ McCollum show. And it's been those 3 guys right now because of the front court fluctuation, as Jonas Valanciunas is not closing that many games anymore, as Larry Nance has jumped him to close some lineups. And that can certainly happen tonight. I'll have interest in Zion, 8,800 and 8,700 on DraftKings and FanDuel, respectively. I like going to Zion quite a bit over Ingram. I know Ingram has been playing well, but Zion, I just think that he has that upside within him much greater than Brandon Ingram. Touch on this Pelicans big 3. Do you think, for me, it's goes Zion, McCollum, Ingram in that order, but I don't have that much interest in McCollum and Ingram as is. How about you?
They're all pretty comparable to me. Zion's the best point per minute guy at 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. Ingram is around 1.15. McCollum's 1.07, but you can expect a few more minutes per game from Ingram and McCollum to help balance that out. It's just a situation where I don't think any of them look like true priorities because they're all healthy and they're all playing together, but that's going to keep their ownership in check, and it's going to make them really appealing options within an individual lineup to just try and get some upside in there. And then you mentioned Joe Val, not closing games with Larry Nance active. That's a huge concern. there's part of me that still wants to just roll the dice on him here because he should absolutely annihilate this Houston front court for whatever minutes he's out there. But I still just can't project him for more than like 24, 25 minutes with Larry Nance out there. So I kind of doubt that I get much. And this is just another spot where I know it has the potential to really piss me off because he just should be extremely productive for whatever minutes he is on the floor.
Yeah. Do you think we should be taking some chances on Valanciunas or Nance? I think I would rather take my chances on the cheaper Nance because I think the upside could be 20. If they have a 24-24 split, give me the 24 minutes of Nance at that price tag. I want to wrap up this front court situation over there with Valanciunas and Nance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's likely that I don't really get to much of either. I think you could make the tournament case for either one. Nance does have power forward eligibility as well. It's just I keep coming back to you could just have one of those games where Joe Val goes for like 1.5 fantasy points per minute here against Şengün in this front court. But it's still you're paying more for him than you're paying for Miles Turner. You're paying more for him than you're paying for Capella. It just becomes really tough if he happens to score 50 fantasy points in 25 minutes. So be it.
Awesome there. I know we broke down a quick 6-game slate. We got the news for Van Vliet and Jaylen Brown. Keep an eye on the data and tools update there. We're going to hand this off to the live before lock team. But before we head out, hit that like button. Thank you so much. And hit the subscribe button as well. Good luck, everyone. Hopefully you guys can take something down and may the odds be with you. Catch you tomorrow.
Greg Ehrenberg from Odd Chopper here to break down the Saturday NBA slate. Do me a favor while you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as per usual, leave a comment below with anything that you are betting on for today, or just any comments or thoughts you have about the bets that I'm placing. Any comments, they're always appreciated. I always read them and like to respond to them, and it's just stuff that helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and it's no cost to you. We're putting out free content, so stuff like comments, likes, subscriptions does go a whole long way to helping us out. And if you guys want even more information from all the guys we have in the YouTube channel, we've got a Discord channel. You can get 1 week free access by clicking on the link below. And that's where I really could place my most valuable NBA bets of the day. Not because I don't try to place my best bets when I'm here on YouTube, but the best value in NBA happens as news arises, and I'm not always doing a video at the time that news breaks. So just recapping something that happened yesterday, for instance, we saw Anthony Davis was downgraded to questionable during the day, ended up playing in the game, but was still clearly not 100%. He was pretty visibly limited, and there was points in the time where he had to come off the court because he was sick during the game. So yesterday, when I saw that Anthony Davis was questionable, his status was in the air, I bet the Lakers at -170, or I bet against the Lakers, bet the Kings at -175. And I also added everybody in the Discord, told them to do the same. That ended up being my biggest NBA bet of the day, and ended up winning outright. So I had the Kings -175, won some money on that. And if you guys want access to that kind of information in our Discord channel, you can check it out 1 week for free by clicking on the link below in the description box. Now, recap of the prop bets I had yesterday. Went 1 and 2 on those. One that won was Jason Tatum under 5.5 assists. Jason Tatum, to me, that number was pretty far off the 5.5 assists. He's only gone for 6 or more assists 2 games the entire year. Now, the other 2 bets I had, one was Koloko for over 4.5 rebounds. This one was a little annoying to me. He had 2 rebounds in the first minute of the game, and then was at 4 going into the fourth quarter. And what happens? The game's a blowout. He doesn't play towards the tail end of the game. So we did end up losing that by the hook in the blowout situation. And the other one, I had under 14.5 points for Javon Carter. Dude was just making everything last night. He ended up making like 70% of his 3-point attempts. So that one ended up being a loss. I didn't feel like that one was a great bet in hindsight. The Koloko one, I liked. I think he would have gotten there if not for the blowout. And the Tatum one ended up winning. But 1 and 2 overall for the day. And then had some winning bets over there in the Discord channel. Also had some other bets that came through in Discord as well. I had a Josh Giddey plus 225 to have more assists than who was it on the other side of the game? It was Josh Giddey to have more assists than Scotty Barnes in the Toronto OKC game. So overall, there were some good bets that were posted in Discord as well. But let's talk about the Saturday slate and the best bets that are on tap for Saturday morning at the time I'm looking at the slate. For tonight, I'm going right back to a bet that we won a couple of days ago. If you guys remember the Thursday slate, we swept the card, won all of the prop bets for that night, and one of the bets that I placed was over 4.5 rebounds for DeAnthony Melton. It was a number that looked off to me at the time. We've got the same exact prop posted tonight against the Hawks. So DeAnthony Melton, over 4.5 rebounds. We have projected for 6.3 over at Odd Shopper. The over expected to win 75% of the time. And if we look at some of these recent games for Melton, without Harden in the mix, 10.
Bon nuit, everybody. Bon nuit. Je m'appelle Eric Lindquist. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show. Excited to talk through the 6-gamer, but there's a lot of DFS action, a little betting action that I can do over here in good old Paris. But first, hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell as we get going. It goes a long way for us. I was excited to flex because the Eiffel Tower is literally right here, okay? The lights turn off at 11:45 p.m. I stayed up. I'm doing an hour and a half show for you guys from midnight to 1:30 a.m. because I love you. I want to give you guys the information. Let's get to it, shall we? I got my buddy Matt LaMarca. He's going to give you the goods. How you doing, my dude?
Not as good as you, clearly, but ultimately pretty good. Can't complain.
That's it?
Yeah, what do you want? You want more than that?
More,
I'm not in
please?
France and you are.
I haven't seen you forever. We haven't done a show together in forever. Let the good times roll, baby. Let the good times roll.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here with the handsomest analyst in the DFS industry. Like a 3 handicap on the golf course.
+3. Get it right.
Plus 3.
Yeah.
Man, just what don't you have going for you?
Literally nothing. Other than sleep. I've potentially DFS too. Yeah, spoiler alert. No DFS here in good old France, but talking DFS, surely a thing. I got a couple bets here on the board. We'll talk through a lot of it here, but I guess we should just start down the breakdown. I didn't stay up for nothing for you guys. I'm here to give you guys the goods. And I think that starts with just addressing this Celtics situation. Jaylen Brown officially ruled out. Your initial reactions for DraftKings and FanDuel.com, Matt LaMarca.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just Jaylen Brown, right? They've also got Al Horford out. They've got Malcolm Brogdon out. So they're really thin, and they draw arguably like the best possible matchup against the Pistons, who are dead last in defensive efficiency this season. So it's a spot where we clearly want to get some exposure. I think Jason Tatum becomes the top stud on the slate. He already kind of was in that discussion just because he's so much cheaper than a guy like Luka Doncic is tonight. But clearly we know he gets a usage bump with Jaylen sidelined. And then the rest of the team, I think, becomes pretty strong value plays when you talk about the minutes that are just going to be open, right? Marcus Smart should play more. Derek White should play more. Grant Williams should play more. So I think really it's a team that we can look to a lot. Like nobody on the team outside of Tatum is priced very aggressively tonight.
Yeah, it's basically only Tatum that you're paying up for. If I were sitting there playing DraftKings tonight, I mean, you look at him, 25.9% optimal percentage in our last run, 26.4% ownership. I think those are going to continue to go up here. The guy's projecting for around 57 points here at 10-1. He's just a slam dunk play. Derek White, 4,300. I mean, the other part of this too, when you don't have Malcolm Brogdon a part of anything that's going on there in Boston, that's another piece. So, I mean, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, you have a path for Derek White, Marcus Smart. Peyton Pritchard's been entering this rotation, but very minimally still. How do you feel about those two specifically?
Yeah, I think if I was going to go into like the backup guard or, value forward type waters, I would be more willing to play Sam Hauser than I would Peyton Pritchard. But I do think that, for sure Grant Williams and Derek White are sort of a notch above those two guys.
Yeah, no question. I think I'm with you there. Somebody just said, just enjoy your vacation, bro. LMFAO. Here's the thing. The work never stops. And plus, there's a lot of things. I'm not the only person who has things going on in my life. We have other people that have things going on in their life. You step up when you are called to the plate. And that is what I do.
And that's what we love about you, Eric.
That's what I love about you, Matt LaMarca. Also, why the hell? It's weird to not see you in a jacket that says Mets right here. Is this because Jacob deGrom's going to leave you for Houston?
No, man, we're good. We're good. We're celebrating. We just gave Edwin Diaz $20 million a year, baby. What do I have to complain about? If I ever get married, that's how I'm entering the reception hall, by the way.
Bum, 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 bum. I will say that's the best thing that happened to the Mets this year.
It was great. It was so much fun.
I apologize to everybody involved. Should we talk a little DFS?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
All right. So there's a lot of other talking points that exist. We go position by position here, starting at the guard spot. Just tell me this. Who are some of the guards that are showing up the most in your lineups? Not any of the value we just talked about, specifically Derek White. I think Marcus Smart as well. Who are the other guards that stand out to you on this slate?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're starting at the top of the pricing spectrum, I will have some Luka tonight just because I think it's so easy to get to him now with all the value that's opening up, with Boston and a little bit in Toronto. So I will have some Doncic, but for the most part, Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is where I'm starting with the pay ups at guard. He's just been so reliable, super consistent this year. He's basically delivered. He's returned value in every game but one so far this season. He's averaging 1.39 DraftKings points per minute. And Toronto is not quite as good defensively as they have been to start this season. They're sort of, bottom half of the league, I want to say, in defensive efficiency. So I have no problem going with Halliburton tonight. He's a little bit of a better value on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but I have no problem paying $8,900 for him on DraftKings either.
Yeah, he's standing out. Tyrese Halliburton all the time too. One of the nice things is getting Miles Turner back out there, somebody who can stretch the floor, knock down threes. It's opening up a couple more assist opportunities. Not that he needed more of it, but you get another shooter on the floor. He's got enough of them around him in spots. And if you don't have Fred VanVleet out there playing some defense, I mean, you still have the OG Anunoby. It's positionless basketball in the year of our Lord 2022. But at the same time, I'm with you. Tyrese Halliburton, just somebody that I'm usually higher on than the field. He's going to be a 10K player in short order if he continues to play 34 minutes here. Game seen of a little bit minutes than he had even at the beginning of this. I think he stands top end. No, you didn't. Did you really?
Yeah.
No.
You're back.
My back?
Now.
I have to be back.
Now.
Come on now.
There you go.
This is important to me. This is important because I ran a speed test. I was perfect. I'm staying at a nice place. There's no way the internet can be bad. Don't do this to me. It's impossible. Talk to me about Jaden Ivey, because this is really, I think, the other talking point of this slate.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Ivey is super interesting, right? He's averaged 1.11 DraftKings points per minute this season with Cunningham off the floor. He didn't really come through in his last game without Cade, but that was a game that Alec Burks played for the first time all year. Not going to be in the lineup tonight. So that's even now more minutes and usage that you have to kind of remove from the equation. So I think Jaden Ivey plays, 30 plus minutes for sure. And, at a 1.1 rate on a per minute basis, like it's just very hard to see him failing at 5,700.
He feels kind of unavoidable. Also, are people really thrown off? Didn't he just completely destroy the slate yesterday, putting up 22 at 25 minutes? What a weird thing for him to see such a drop in minutes there.
Yeah, it was bizarre. But like I said, I think that Alec Burks being there, like Burks kind of played a big role right out of the gate. And it was interesting. It was weird, but being on the second leg of a back-to-back, now he's out of the equation. So I think the minutes come back. And, before that game, he had 45 DraftKings points in 2 straight. So I think this is a really good spot for him to bounce back.
Oh my, Tyler Hero ruled out for you. Enjoy that, America. Enjoy that. Initial reaction to Tyler Hero out.
Yeah, I already was kind of leaning towards using some Jimmy Butler tonight, and Jimmy Butler, I think now surpasses even Jason Tatum for me. Like I love Jimmy Butler whenever the Heat are playing shorthanded. And so far this season without Hero, Butler's at 1.46 DraftKings points per minute. He just nearly triple doubled with Hero out of the lineup in their last game. And he's $1,000 cheaper than Tatum. I think for sure he's the better play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get weird. Tyler Hero's been leading this team in usage this season, 26.2%, higher than Jimmy Butler, higher than Bam Adebayo. Can it get much higher? No, you're definitely going to play some of these Heat pieces now. What a wild slate you guys have over there. Thank God I'm not actually playing this thing.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. We'll see, once things start to update in our tools, how some of these other Heat guys are kind of looking. For now, Butler is really the priority for me, as hot take.
Yeah. Hot take, hot route. We already got the Tyler news. No, you just got it just now because it just came up on my alert. Unless I'm really living in the past over here, but I'm 9 hours ahead of LA. So that's called the future.
Seriously.
Like legitimately, that's what it is. Lots of news coming in for everybody here involved. We're going to play some Celtics. We're going to play some Miami, some spend up options. Nice to have some of that money go towards some of these other players here. But going back to the guard position, is there anybody else at the top end that you're looking at? I mean, you're getting a very low owned, and you're always going to see Trae Young, DeJounte Murray low owned when they're both active in these kind of spots. Damian Lillard. Anybody else at guard that you're really paying up for?
For me, Tyrese Maxey is somebody that I have exposure to right now. That the Tyrese Maxey minutes are always going to be there. He didn't play a ton in their last game, but the 3 games prior, 40, 39, and 43. He's going to be taking on a larger offensive responsibility with James Harden sidelined. The problem is the guy just hasn't been able to buy a bucket over the last couple of games, right? He's 5 for 17, 4 for 18, and 10 for 29 in his last 3 games. Eventually, he's going to start making some shots again, and he's going to be able to provide value at his current salary.
I need him to provide. I need him to provide for the people.
He'll provide. Good. He'll come through.
I will provide. That's like the 1950s idea of masculinity. That would be that version of that song. It's inappropriate and not accurate to the climate of 2022. Let me say.
You're damn right. Don't get canceled, buddy.
No, I am all for. Go ahead, honey. Work forever. That sounds great to me. She just said no from the other room. I don't know if anybody could hear that. She said that's absolutely not happening. What is happening, though, is a amazing promotions. We have the BetMGM one. We'll talk about that one here in a second, but also NBA 3 days free. 3 days free. Key points. Oh, look at all these beautiful things. We have NBA DFS projections, NBA DFS ownership, 1v1 tools, lineup generator, top stacks tool, and so much more. Link is in the description box below. Check that one out, y'all. You guys want to see some Stokastic stuff? Look at that. 3 free days of our platinum tools. Looks beautiful. Looks nice. Plus, that's a beautiful graphic. That graphic alone has me a little, I don't know, has me urging for a Grateful Dead show. Has me thinking about t-shirts I used to make in my, 8th grade church camp. I don't know. It was beautiful stuff. So shout out the graphics team. Looked really, really good there. Anything else on the cheap end of guards? There's somebody super contrarian that you're finding ways for your lineups, because I feel like the chalk is pretty pronounced and pretty good now.
Yeah, on the contrarian side, I don't like. Do we think that Killian Hayes is going to be overlooked? Probably not. Right?
Where to God, if you play Killian Hayes, you're out of your mind.
You think I'm out of my mind for playing Killian Hayes? He had 33.5 points in 34 minutes with Cade Cunningham out of the lineup in their last game.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so ridiculous.
Love me some Killian's one of my guys. The first moment I ever bought on Top Shot was a Killian Hayes moment.
Was it really? How's that going for you? Is that
like the
returning
rest of my
value on
Top
this
Shot
slate?
investments? Not well. Yeah, I bought like the number 4 cereal
Oh my.
on his first Top Shot moment. Killian Hayes was one of my guys, and I'm still holding.
It can bounce back, right? Isn't that FTX?
I mean, I got it cheap-ish.
I got it cheapish. All right. So talk to me about Killian Hayes.
Yeah, I just think that with Cade Cunningham out, he's going to get more opportunities to play like a traditional point guard. Like, yes, they still have Jaden Ivey, who's going to handle some of those responsibilities, but Hayes has averaged 0.82 DraftKings points per minute. He played 34 minutes yesterday, and that was again with Alec Burks playing about 25 minutes of his own. So you take Burks out of the equation, even if you want to, pump the minutes back up for Jaden Ivey, I still think it leaves more than enough for Hayes to pay off 3,600. Like, as much as he was kind of a gross option last year, I think that he's just kind of unavoidable at 3,600. Not unavoidable. That's a bad word, but he's a good play at 3,600.
Yeah, I'm looking at our tools right now. Again, I didn't play yesterday. I didn't play today, and people are talking about being NBA confused. You're damn right I am. I'm living in the future up here in Paris. So 3,600 for him. I suppose it's all right. 21.71% boom percentage over on DraftKings. 15.8% ownership. I don't see 60% ownership in his future. I mean, Corey Joseph still exists. I gotta admit, I think it's still going to be a timeshare between the two of them. I don't see any reason other than he played well last game that we're going to find some major bump for him on this slate.
I mean, Joseph in his last 3 games has played 6 minutes, 5.5, and 6 minutes.
He's so bad, but he started, didn't he?
He gets the token start and then never goes back in the game.
Well, because Killian Hayes plays well, I suppose. But yeah, he's terrible. I hate both of them, but I get it. Killian Hayes, I think he probably makes more sense just from what I'm looking at. So I'm with you. Eric is tripping. I'm not tripping. I'm just giving you my say. And generally rostering either of those two doesn't go well long term.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong. There have been Killian Hayes chalk nights in the past, and they don't end well. What about in Toronto? Like, are you, well, I know you're not playing, but are you giving any fake consideration to Delano Banton or Malachi Flynn?
I'm giving fake consideration.
Yeah.
I crunched lineups as if I were playing. I literally
okay.
went through the process. I went through the steps of the slate. I find Gary Trent very interesting. Shooting guard, small forward there, 5,900, coming in with low teens ownership at the moment. I think that he definitely would make some sense. We'll see kind of where that ownership lands. We've got a lot of things that are still, I think, updating here. I think we'll get a little bit more efficient as we get closer to lock. there's nothing major that we're really waiting on. We got the Tyler Hero news. We got the massive Jaylen Brown news. Anything else you've got on your radar that you think really is going to matter?
Let's see. I mean, Nurkic, but I'm not necessarily looking to play any of the the Blazers big men if he's out, really. I guess LaMelo Ball matters, like that's a team that really doesn't have a lot at the moment. And, guys like Kelly Oubre and, PJ Washington have provided value recently, and they would probably take hits if LaMelo Ball comes back. So nothing super important, I guess, is the answer, but there are still things to keep an eye on.
Okay. Anything else at the guard position you really need the people to know?
No, let's move on.
Okay. That seems fun to me. I need to move on. I need to move on from Eric's drinking on the job. I had a drink this evening. I do apologize. How dare I? In Paris, France.
He's in France. One drink in France is negative drinks in the United States.
It's wild. I think that is the conversion rate.
Yeah.
It's a little like euro to dollar. Makes sense. It makes sense. Let's jump over to the forward spot here because more interesting talking points. You talked about Jason Tatum at the top end. Now Jimmy Butler enters the conversation. You only get to roster one in one lineup. Who do you pick between the two?
Yeah, for me, it's Jimmy Butler. I just think he has a little bit more upside when you factor in all the categories that he can contribute in, right? Like Jason Tatum, he's gotten a bit better in the peripherals. Like he'll hand out 4 or 5 assists, he'll grab 8 rebounds, but he's not really a guy that I think has nightly triple-double threat. Jimmy Butler is that type of player, and he showed that in his last game, right? He was 2 assists shy of a triple-double, finished with 64 DraftKings points in 42 minutes. I think if Jimmy Butler hits his ceiling, I think it's slightly higher than Jason Tatum's, and we're getting a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, I think he's probably the guy too. As you said, a little bit of a discount. The Detroit, I don't want to factor in blowout, but I don't think you can really overlook that Cade Cunningham, who does everything for this Detroit team, is going to be out. Makes a lot of sense, I think, playing a lot of Jimmy Butler. Not that Tatum is some write-off. You're going to have lineups that show up with both of them in a lot of spots, so I'm happy going either way. But now it gets a little bit less interesting to me because I think outside of Gary Trent, who's pulling a ton of ownership, and Grant Williams now pulling a ton of ownership, I think it's pretty wide open to take your shots. We do have 3 Toronto pieces, though, that are sitting between 21 and 35% ownership on DraftKings right now. Pretty wild to be looking at that, but no Fred VanVleet, no Pascal Siakam. Somebody's got to score the ball. Who do you think does it the most from Toronto?
I think Gary Trent probably does the most scoring. We saw that last year when Fred VanVleet was sidelined. He was the guy that kind of picked up the scoring slack. Saw some big Gary Trent random games. But I think that Scotty Barnes takes on more of like a distributor type role, like we've seen him do in the past. So Scotty Barnes to me is definitely intriguing. I like all the Toronto forwards. I think OG is still underpriced. He's a guy who's been averaging like a fantasy point per minute, and we know Nick Nurse is going to play these guys 40 minutes in a competitive game. And Indy might be the best matchup on the slate, right? Like they play at the fastest pace in the league, and they're second to last in defensive efficiency. So I think loading up on these Toronto guys is totally fine. I would probably rank them Gary Trent 1, Scotty Barnes 2, and then OG Anunoby 3.
I'm just going to assume that I never saw anything from anybody in Detroit saying that he was locked into 30 minutes, that being Corey Joseph or Killian Hayes. So specifically Killian Hayes. So that's a lie. Don't put fake news into the chat. If you put fake news into the chat, you get banned. And if you get banned, people die. Why must be surrounded by freaking idiots? Let's continue on. Shall we? Thank you for the breakdown there of all the Toronto pieces. Zion Williamson, somebody that I find that Houston New Orleans game to be pretty appealing. I think getting to some pieces of that doesn't completely suck. A little bit contrarian here on this slate. Sadiq Bey, 5,300, sitting in the mid range. I think there's a lot of really interesting tournament plays to be adding to the portfolio. Who's your favorite sub 15% tournament play at the forward position?
Sub 15%. Let me just take a peek here.
Take a peeky blinders. Thomas Shelby.
Yeah, Zion is somebody that I've been playing recently, but like the minutes haven't really been there. He's kind of scaring me a little bit. 8,800 doesn't feel great when you can play Jimmy Butler for 300 more. So I'm probably going to pass on him. The answer is really probably some of these Celtics guys that might be a little bit overlooked. You know, like you've got Luke Cornett at the minimum. You've got Blake Griffin at the minimum. I know neither of those guys is particularly exciting to roster, but they're going to get some run tonight with all of the absences that the Celtics have right now. So
shout out Sam Hauser too. Like, not the worst play on planet Earth. I can't believe I just said that though.
Yeah. I think Sam Hauser is actually going to carry some ownership. I don't know if Blake Griffin and Luke Cornett people are going to necessarily be getting to those guys.
Sure won't. Man, I'm doing the Lord's work. Sure am, Vargas Mercy. This entire Boston team, somebody just said they were getting to 4 Celtics in lineups. I wouldn't probably want to get to a lot of iterations of 4 on today's slate. I suppose just looking in terms of lock times, there's not a whole lot of late swap edge that exists here unless you get something really off the board like Nurkic and Jeremy Grant or something like that shows up where they just get ruled out, and then you're running into the inverse of what we had the other day where it was Nurkic out, Jeremy Grant in, Jeremy Grant and Justice Winslow just smash the earth, go completely scorched earth on the world. But I can't imagine I'm going to get to 4 Boston pieces if I were playing today.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard when there's a slate with so much value to lock in 4 on one team.
Yep.
Like you're kind of capping your ceiling just a little bit.
Yeah, it depends also where they're going to be at, but a lot of this value is at the forward spot that you're looking at from Boston, outside of Marcus Smart and outside of Derek White. You know, you're talking about one of those 4 guys having to be Sam Hauser or Grant Williams or Blake Griffin, and I think they probably don't all get there in a lot of scenarios.
Yes, that's fair. That's a good way to look at it.
Anybody else we are just flying through this slate. It's kind of wild. This is the first time I've hosted an NBA show all season long because generally I'm the analyst because I'm actually playing, but in this circumstance also not doing that and I'm hosting. Therefore, just kind of going through the board, trying to find other forwards that are super contrarian. I just feel like the chalk is so damn good across the board today that I would want to find a path to get to some of these contrarian pieces, things that aren't, pulling 30, 40% ownership, but it is really just a process of elimination, or would just be like, all right, I've got 5,300 left. I'll play Cruz Boucher in this lineup. Oh, I have 4,500 left. I'll play Caleb Martin in this one. Is there any way that you're kind of piecing your lineups together over there?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's hard to get away from some of these guys. Like I love Isaiah Jackson. He's somebody that I play frequently, because he is just so good on a per minute basis and he can get us 30 points in sub 20 minutes. But can you really play Isaiah Jackson at 4,100 when you can get Grant Williams at 4,100 and he's going to see, upwards of 20 more minutes? It's hard. So I'm with you. I think you're kind of just mixing and matching some of the value spots for Boston, Toronto. We didn't even talk about Thad Young. I think he's kind of interesting at 3,200, like a kind of a contrarian piece if you wanted to go with the Toronto side that way. You mentioned Sadiq Bey. I think Sadiq Bey has got some paths to relevance tonight at 5,300. Caleb Martin's a good play. So it really is kind of, for me, just mix and matching from Toronto, Detroit, Boston, and Miami.
So I just ran my first 150 of mock lineups, if you will. God forbid if these would have actually won a GPP tonight. I'm going to
delete them. Make sure you delete them.
I'm going to delete them. I can't watch this. This is just painful. I'm going to go to bed. It's going to be 1:30 a.m. when I get off this thing. But I am getting to 4 Celtics in a lot of these lineups after I updated Derek White, Jason Tatum, Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard. There's just a path to get to a lot of these dudes, taking some shots on other ones. I don't know if I want to get to 4 in a lot of them, but in about 15 of 150, I've got 4 Celtics. So let that be known.
I think
Nothing
that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's probably fair. 15 out of that's 10%, right? Quick maths.
Look at you. You've improved. Good job, Matt
Thank
LaMarca.
you. I think
You're going to screen share what? Oh, I would love for you to screen share that. Look at that. We've got Mike Lawrence behind the virtual doing just the Lord's work, doing Philadelphia's work. He's also a fake Bills fan. I don't know if you've heard about the drama surrounding this, but he goes to Buffalo. He goes to Philadelphia. Is he actually a Phillies fan? Is he actually a Buffalo fan? Who knows? All I know is we are all Vikings fans tomorrow, right? Because we all got to 7.5 there before.
actually you're right about that.
We are all Vikings
I hedged
fans.
out though, Eric. I'll be honest.
What's it like to have a spineless existence?
The Vikings are just so overrated. So criminally overrated.
Do we have to look at this? All right. We have Barnes, Trent Jr., Anunoby. Look at this madness at the back end. Porter and Young by
There you
Coloco.
go, Thad Young. So much for contrarian Thad Young.
You know what we needed on this slate was more value. We needed more value for the people. There wasn't enough.
I will say that Thad being in the starting lineup now, that officially bumps him ahead of all the Celtics values. Like Blake Griffin, Luke Cornett, Thad 200 more, and he's just a better player, right? He hasn't necessarily been great to start this year, but in the past, he's a guy who's been capable of well over a fantasy point per minute. So as a member of the starting unit, for sure interested in Thad Young at 3,200.
I just can't believe they're doing this because they hate my guy. They hate my Thad Young.
They do. It's almost like you don't know why they traded for him.
Dude, he played 27 minutes. I guess it was the game that it wasn't Pascal Siakam was already injured, but then Kem Birch was pulled. He was out before that game started. Precious Achiuwa got hurt during it. You saw 27 minutes out of him. And then I was like, oh, he might be a contrarian guy you want to get to. Only played 9 minutes, but in the starting unit, I mean, I think there's still a wide range of outcomes with what those minutes could be, but you got to feel a lot better about it just seeing the starting nod.
Yeah, I mean, you'd love to see that usage rate come up a little bit. I don't know when he turned into Ben Simmons, but like he's afraid of. If you look at his usage rate, it's 8, 6, 4, and 12 in the last 4 games. That's not really going to get the job done. But anyway, I still think just because of his sort of well-rounded skill set, he's a better option than the Celtics punts.
Otto Porter, 23 and 17 minutes off the bench the last 2. How many minutes do you have him for now?
Otto, I initially had for about 18 minutes. I think I'm probably keeping him there.
Can I say what the lineup is? We just had it go across the board. Exactly who you thought, except for 2 pieces. We have Otto Porter now starting, and we have, oh my God, Thad Young starting. What a wild starting lineup this is.
I kind of like it.
I do too. I think this is the starting lineup I would prefer on this team.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Let's run some Scotty Barnes point.
Yes, point Scotty. Again, Gary Trent Jr., I think, serves as like their top offensive option. He's going to be the usage guy tonight. I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but in games without Van Vliet last year, he was really good. Like I'll run that cue while we're talking about something else. But I think he's the guy that takes on the scoring load.
Somebody says, keep throwing back the wine, Lindquist, F the haters. Okay. I think I just need sleep is where we're at. We're on the delirious level. Eric Traub, $9.99. Boucher or Bay on DK, last Jude in. I got to say, Chris Boucher, if he gets it going, there's no way that you wouldn't see him play more minutes than normal. If you get Thad Young or Otto Porter, then don't go out and smash. I think Chris Boucher is such a good tournament play now.
Yes. Yeah, I'll always take a guy like Boucher over a guy like Saddiq Bey. Like Saddiq Bey is going to give you a safer floor, but that doesn't win tournaments, right? You need the upside, and Boucher is just dripping with upside.
Dripping with it?
Yes, liquid upside.
I missed you. Not anymore. If anyone in chat tries to give you a hard time, tell them to stop talking and mind their own business. I see what you did there, Eric Traub. Thank you for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it. We got another one, $5. We got multiple coming in now. Hey, guys. Hello, Michael Pazzulli. If I run 6 lineups on FD, how much Porter and Young do I get to? Well, more now is the answer.
I would say if I was hand building lineups and I was building 6, I would probably go with 2 Thaddeus Young and probably 1 Otto Porter would be how I would try to allocate things. Are you frozen or are you thinking? I think Eric might be
I'm thinking.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
No, I'm thinking. I was thinking. I think probably 3 and 3 is a pretty good way of just saying it off the top of my head. Again, I'm not crunching the lineup, so I don't know.
Oh, you're going all in, huh? No fear.
3 and 3, that's 50-50.
Yeah, all right. But that means you'll have 1 in every lineup.
No, you could overlap them.
Okay. All right.
Tip to
That
tip.
is true.
That's what the people want to see here from Paris. Oh, if only Greg Ehrenberg was here. You have no idea. Fantasy NASCAR podcast, Mass LaMarca. What is that?
That's my guy Pierce. He is a big NASCAR guy. We work together over at the DraftKings news desk. So, hello, Pierce. How you doing?
See,
he told me he'd be stopping by today. Yes.
Hello,
to show
Pierce.
support.
He's good people. Good to see you.
Hey, you know,
Glad
Pierce,
to have him kicking it. Thanks for the money that, you might as well just give Matt LaMarca $5. We should just Venmo you $5 for, I don't know. I miss Chipotle already. It's been like 24 hours. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but I do.
So I officially ran that queue. Okay. In let's see, 16 games without Van Vliet, Gary Trent had a team high 3.9% usage bump, averaged 32.5 DraftKings points per game. And those were primarily with Pascal Siakam in the lineup, who led the team with a 28% usage rate. So I think the upside for Gary Trent is even higher than that, factoring Siakam out as well.
Guys, you traveled somewhere else. You still miss home. Chipotle. I could go for a double chicken with guac, some chips. Oh, buddy.
You know what I get? I
Tabasco.
like the veggie burrito from Chipotle.
I'm not a rabbit, so I don't eat veggie things, but I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just peppers and onions, and you throw some guac in there with some black beans, some brown rice.
Sounds like a good deal, Matt LaMarca. You know what else sounds like a good deal to me?
Tell me.
Our sponsor, BetMGM. Check this deal out that we have going with them right now. Good Lord Almighty. You get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, up to a $1,000 risk-free bet. Yeah, there's a link down there in the video description box below. And if you deposit at least $10 and bet on anything, period, as soon as that wager gets settled, you're going to get yourself some free money. That first bet, it will get you those 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. So I would take advantage of that instantly right now. I don't know really what you're waiting for. If you're in a legal state, which Paris, it's not a state, or I know that you can do much of.
What do they have, like
here?
Districts, right? Districts in Paris.
Yeah, they have districts. That is a beautiful way of doing it.
Okay.
We got this. We've got Bordeaux coming up later in the week, but I got to tell you, it was very nice being able to stop, on the way over, where you get into a legal state and you're able to make all of your wagers and fire up everything you possibly could. If I hadn't already signed up for BetMGM, I can tell you one thing, I would have been signing up for BetMGM. So take advantage of that. If you're playing DFS for Sunday, I know everybody's got their NFL lineups coming up for Sunday. Take advantage of this promotion. Get yourself 2 free months of Stokastic, because when that wager gets settled, you're going to get yourself that. So get access to it. Take advantage of the BetMGM promotion. You can get up to a $1,000 risk-free bet in the process. What could be better than Do You Like My Sweater? It's a good song. That was
a nice sweater.
Thank you very much. Sweater. Yeah. I'm a nice sweater. To the center position we go. Miles Turner's popular.
And he deserves to be.
He's so good.
I mean, it's just one of those things where he's finally been unlocked, right? We've been waiting, right, for him and Sabonis Oh, technical foul. I'm getting teed
Time
up.
out. We're getting timed out.
Oh,
Killian Hayes starting. Why? Detroit's trolling me from here. Killian Hayes on the starting lineup.
man, I might go sell that Top Shot moment right now.
No, you should keep it and then wait for him to drop a 40 burger, and then you're set. Killian Hayes starting tonight alongside Ivy, Bay, Bogdanovich, and Stewart. That's your official tweet. There's other places that tweet exists. Pretty much everything I said about being worried about Killian Hayes just automatically walking into 34 minutes again, pretty much alleviated. He's a lot better at basketball than Corey Joseph. Corey Joseph is trash. The same way Zach Morris is trash on the old Hulu streets.
Trash.
I knew you would know. Go ahead and talk to me about Killian Hayes starting.
Yeah, I mean, I was already kind of pretty heavily on board with Killian Hayes.
Everyone
Corey
knew he was
Joseph-
starting. Shut up, over under. Nobody knew he was starting.
Yeah, it's true. Even I didn't know he was starting, and I liked him. I just didn't think Corey Joseph was particularly relevant in the year 2022. And now we can say for certain that he is not, right? So the good thing about Hayes is it's not like his recent production seems unsustainable, right? He was 4 for 12 shooting in his last game, 1 for 6 from 3, but he did a little bit of everything. He had 11 points, 6 boards, 7 assists, 3 steals. I feel like that's a repeatable stat line. And again, he's cheap. He's got tons of minute upside now with basically every guard out for the Pistons outside of him and Jaden Ivey. So I think it's all systems go, Killian Hayes.
Were we anticipating this piece of news? Dennis Smith Jr., he was always questionable. All right. But you have Rozier and Paul back. It doesn't really matter.
Yes. Lonzo
matter.
confirmed. Lonzo confirmed in.
Not confirmed in. I find it impossible that he would get upgraded to questionable for the first time all season and not play.
I hear you. I just hate when, Woj had the update, like he's going to warm up with the intention to play. Like, isn't that what all players do when they warm up? So give me something a little bit more definitive, Woj.
Everybody had Corey Joseph starting today. Stop it, chat. Just stop it. Get help. Stop it. No, I really don't care. Again, I'm not playing this slate. This is the biggest emotional free roll ever, but I'm here to help you guys make money. I got my buddy Matt LaMarca along for the ride. Mike Lawrence doing a great job. My internet connection staying intact. All things are positive right now. All things are positive through Christ who strengthens us. I will never say that again here on these shows. That was just absurd. It's just a bad fucking time in my life. But here we go. To the center position. Miles Turner still exists. He's still very, very good. But Joel Embiid's up there 11-1 on DraftKings.com. 11-1. That's a pretty hefty tag, but do you think it's pretty attainable with all the value that we just had show up?
It's attainable. I just don't know if you want to pay it. He just doesn't look right to start the year, right? So he's at 1.31 DraftKings points per minute. Miles Turner is at 1.36, and Miles Turner is like $5K cheaper. So I think for sure it's hard for me to sacrifice Turner to get to Embiid. I do have some. I'll have some 2 center lineups because I also think Clint Capella is a pretty strong play tonight at 6K. Miles Plumlee is not the worst option at 5,200. So I think it's a good night for centers. Didn't even mention Şengün yet, who is like basically just a nightly play at this point. So it's hard for me to sacrifice one of those guys to throw Joel Embiid in when I have Tatum and now Butler as superior stud options to pay up for. So for me, it's a value position.
Could you imagine a world where Alperen Şengün played 35 minutes a night like he's supposed to?
What a glorious world it would be.
I would be a lot happier. There would be no crying. There would be no poverty. Everything would be fixed. Just give me Alperen Şengün for 35 minutes a night.
It'd be great. I mean, even with the 30, he's paying off his current salary. So, I have no problem going back to Şengün, but Turner is the guy. 6,300 is just a criminally low price tag for him. I mean, everything was set up for him to bust in his last game, right? He picked up 5 fouls playing against Nikola Jokic. He played less than 26 minutes, and he still got to 40 DraftKings points. So if he can do that in 26 minutes, what's he going to do when he gets to 30? I mean, we saw it 2 games ago. He had over 60 fantasy points. So it's just very hard for me to not play him tonight. I know he's the chalk, but this to me seems like good chalk.
Sunflower wants it to be known that you said Miles Plumlee and not Mason Plumlee, and now he's losing his damn mind.
Oh, well, there's like 8 Plumlee brothers, and they're all equally forgettable. So
I think Mason's probably the best if we had to guess.
I mean, yeah, it's a low bar, but you're right.
He'll go out and get you negative efficiency numbers every single night. He'll get it done for you.
To be fair, though, Mason has been providing good value. Now, I don't know if that necessarily changes if LaMelo comes. I mean, you would think it would help him, right? It's not going to have any impact really on his playing time, but 39 and 40 in his past 2 games. So I think he's fine too at 5,200. Whether you call him Mason, Miles, Marshall, I think that was the other one, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fantasy points count all the same.
We'll have a Malakar Plumlee. That can be our Stokastic contribution. Our guy coming in there. We got Loco showing up here. We got Christian Wood available to play. That was another piece of news that I think just getting that verification that mattered.
I'm not playing Christian Wood tonight.
I like. But Dallas just becomes so unappealing on this slate outside of Luka.
Yes, agreed.
You don't have to do a damn thing with them.
Even Luka, like, it wouldn't shock me if I ended up being underweight on Luka now that all this value is opened up. Like, people might still click him. And I think it's just building around Tatum and Butler just seems so much more appealing to me.
Bam Matt for saying Lonzo confirmed in. People are just calling you out for all of the little
whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I was gonna say it's gonna be okay. You don't know what you're talking about, Willis. Let me tell you though, looking at the guard position, Killian Hayes, I just updated some stuff. My lord, I have a lot.
Tell me how much.
More than I would ever want if I were actually playing this slate. 48%. That's a lot of Killian Hayes.
That is quite a good bit of Killian Hayes. I'm probably in the same vicinity. I think I'm close to like 50% as well. Let's ride.
Isn't it funny how this works? No money. It's like I just got done poo-pooing the guy, and now 10 minutes before the slate locks, I'm like, I'd play this guy in half my lineups. Like, there's no repercussions. Also, that's not a fun way of looking at it, but like, legitimately, you should always be allowing yourself to let new information change your thoughts. And so I think that's the most applicable tool that you guys should have from Matt, from myself, from anybody doing these shows, is we want you guys to be able to take actionable steps to improve your lineups. And new information is going to change your opinions. And if it doesn't, you're probably not doing this correctly.
True wisdom is the ability to change your mind, to know that you were previously wrong.
Now who's drunk?
I don't know, Socrates or whoever said that.
yeah, he was just a philanthropist.
Socrates.
What?
Bill and Ted, little Socrates.
Yes, I knew that's what it was. I love you so much. You know what I also love? The lineup generator. I think we're probably at a spot where we can fire this up, Mike Lawrence. I think we can do this here with 9 minutes before lock. Let's say you were just on a whim, unable to be able to make lineups, that you were just like, I have this lineup reserved. I haven't been able to research. I haven't been able to study. We are developing actionable tools for you guys, just like I talked about in terms of our analysis, but we're doing it in tool form. And that is with the lineup generator. We've got some awesome guys like Sky, like Alex Baker, of course. He seems like he's pretty good at DFS too. Yeah. This lineup generator is the absolute perfect tool for you guys to build NBA DFS lineups that can win you money immediately. Now, it's going to have a different rating in terms of what you're going to have on the DraftKings main slate for ownership. It's going to tell you like if it's very chalky, if it's not. It's also going to tell you if it's very high in projection or not. And it's going to give you the great balance. So if you have a general idea that kind of a mid seems like something you might want for both of them, you're going to be able to make lineups very, very quickly on this DraftKings main slate. So I would be checking this out here on a lot of these NBA slates as we go forward. Always be checking in on this, but the NBA lineups generator, the tournament GPP, you can update and you can see directly on the screen. So if you just go to all lineups there, Mike, you've got it crushed. You're just crushing the game over there. Look at this lineup here. So let me read this off. We've got Derek White. Let's see. Is that Tyrese? Can you read it for me? I can't even read it.
Derek White, Mathurin, Tatum, Cornette, Mason Plumlee, Gary Trent Jr., Jimmy Buckets, Miles Turner.
I like that lineup.
Yeah, that seems like it's definitely grading out on the chalkier side of things, but I think that's a strong build. I mean, that kind of checks a lot of the boxes we've been talking about, right? Building around Tatum and Butler, Miles Turner, Gary Trent Jr. getting the usage bump, and then just taking some of the value with the Celtics. So I like that too.
Also, I want to see what Killian Hayes ends up getting up to in terms of ownership before the slate lock. So I'm going to keep refreshing that for you guys. I'll let that be a little freebie for you all as we're kind of nearing lock. And then of course, Matt and I aren't going anywhere. We've got half an hour to chat, a little bit of sports betting, react to any news that shows up. Plus we just get to hang out together. And if I'm going to be up at 1 a.m. with anybody, it might as well be Matt LaMarca. My wife can be second.
I was going to say it's not the first time I've heard that statement.
Not the first time you've ever heard it from me.
No.
Please come to Italy. That's all I said last year. Just please. I can't do this alone. Can't officiate this wedding by myself and be I'm so lonely without you. Killian Hayes still not all that popular. 11.9%. He's going to be way more popular than that, right?
I would say yes, but I do think that there's a general perception that Killian Hayes stinks, right? I mean, just think of how visceral your reaction to it was when I brought him up initially. So I do think there's going to be some hesitancy for people to plug him into their lineups.
Cliff Pacquiao, $5 super chat. He asks Pritchard or Flynn tonight. Flynn, pretty tough not starting.
Yeah, I think you got to go with Pritchard. I don't love Pritchard, if I'm being honest. I think I'm going to wind up underweight to him compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, without the starting nod for Flynn, it's really tough to get excited about him.
I mean, if you're playing Peyton Pritchard, who's going to actually be pulling some ownership, the best case result is this team just blasts them and he gets garbage time. If he doesn't, he's only played 13 and 16 minutes without Malcolm Brogdon out there the last two. Now, you get no Jaylen Brown as well. That's a gigantic piece, but I feel like with Jaylen Brown, you're going to have more Grant Williams minutes, and it's not just a true one-for-one swap the way that you might think of, Peyton Pritchard's out, Malcolm Brogdon's out, and Peyton Pritchard obviously gets into that rotation more.
Yeah, and again, Sam Hauser, I think, is kind of ahead of him in the pecking order as well. So, I think I'm going to be underweight on Pritchard, but does he have some upside at 3,100? Yeah, he's pretty clearly has some upside there.
Eric has that, let's get this over with. Look, you got to be kidding me. I'm having a blast. You think I would have, I'm having a blast. I'm in Paris. I'm hanging out with my friends on YouTubes. Nothing I would rather do. The YouTubes, bro. It's pretty chill. Let's talk position by position here. Let's talk through our most exposed guards, me and my fake builds, you and your real builds, because you're playing for real big boy money today, unlike me living in make-believe land. But at the guard position, hard to get away from Derek White, hard to get away from some Jaden Ivey exposure, Marcus Smart, Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes just went way up the board for me. Those four, I feel like it's all good chalk. How about you?
Yeah, those are my four highest exposed guards as well. We didn't talk about Jalen Green. I have a little bit of Jalen Green in that night game as well. I still ended up with some Halliburton at 8,900, but yeah, for the most part, Ivy, Smart, Hayes, and White I have as my four best plays.
Somebody just asked any priority plays from Toronto. Yeah, as we go over to the forward spot here, where we have Scotty Barnes, we have Gary Trent, we now have Thaddeus Young, we have Otto Porter Jr., We have all of these dudes. Oh my Lord. And then Jason Tatum, my highest exposed forward in make-believe land. How about you?
For me, it's Butler, but yes, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, I think are candidates for 50+% ownership tonight, depending on how many lineups you're building. Followed by the Toronto guys, and then Thad value, Hauser value, Grant Williams values, plays like that.
Just to revisit what we talked about with Jimmy Butler, because before I was with you, I would have had way more Jimmy Butler than Jason Tatum. With Killian Hayes and now 2 more pieces of Toronto value that I think are going to be very, very good, I find it easier to get up to him and just take the raw points.
Yeah, my thing is I don't necessarily view Tatum as having that much more raw point upside. Like, I think
I mean, I have Tatum for 57. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's more. I have Tatum for closer to 54. And I have Butler for, 52, 53. So
LaMelo Ball active. There you go. That news comes in immediately. And Dennis Smith Jr. ruled out. It's does that make it interesting now? Maybe to have some Terry Rozier as a tournament dart?
Yeah, Terry's interesting. I still think I'm sticking primarily with Kelly Oubre.
Okay.
That guy just has never met a shot that he didn't like. And on nights where he's making them, he can fill it up quickly. So, maybe even having LaMelo / Lonzo / LiAngelo, whichever ball he plays with, out there to help create some looks. Maybe he even gets a little bit better opportunities from beyond the 3-point line.
All right. And at center, no question about it. I think you and I both were in love with one, Miles Turner. Embiid, I thought I was going to get to more. Wild that I didn't get to very much of him. I think Bam Adebayo without Tyler Hero is still looking all right there in the tournament department. Slight negative leverage in the boom bust rule, or a slight negative leverage in the boom bust tool. But I swear that Bam Adebayo 55+ game, it is coming, folks. Like, it is absolutely coming down the pipeline. We haven't seen him exceed 50 in a game yet this season. I can promise you, Charlotte, good spot for it to possibly happen.
I like that call. I have some Bam as well. I actually have more Bam than Joel Embiid. So I'm with you there. I think that it's a good tournament spot, but for sure, Miles Turner is my highest owned player, regardless of position today. So that's kind of keeping all the other centers just a little bit in check. But like Bam, good upside, and Turner just a smash value.
Just smash. I absolutely love it here. Smash. Cool. Well, I'll let you kind of pull up some ownership if you'd like to on the Toronto, Indiana, Boston, Detroit games. Those are a lock. We have half an hour until Atlanta, Philadelphia, which has become increasingly less important, I think, to the grand scheme of this slate. You can still get to your Maxey, your Embiid. Melton will kind of be keeping track of that because he's questionable. We're still kind of waiting on official news there, right?
For Milton?
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, but I haven't been keeping a closer eye on it. So
just not to throw myself under the bus quick. No, it was just, I have this entire section of news. We have the graph that we have showing you guys nonstop. Mike Lawrence doing a great job of updating that. I will say, Mike Lawrence might be the MVP of today's show. I will say there are times the internet got spotty, boom, cut out. Tough acting, just getting out of there.
Throwing up the Iowa Hawkeyes on the screen. That's a cut. That's an over, I think, right? Wasn't the total 33 in that game?
Was it really?
Oh,
I do the best I can to avoid watching Iowa football because I don't hate myself.
It's a good strategy, but yeah. I don't know. I've been on a big college football kick recently. I am normally like not a college sports guy, but I have been red hot picking college football games.
Such as?
Well, today, every week I can grab Navy as a large underdog. I do it. So they were catching like 17 against Notre Dame today, and they lost by 3. And my other pick for today is Syracuse plus 7.5 against Florida State. That kicks off at 8:00 if you want to jump in.
I'm going to guess that DeAnthony Melton might not be playing basketball today because we just got the Sixers lineup, and it is Maxey, Thibault, Harris, Tucker, and Embiid. This is why you guys don't want to go anywhere here after lock, because we are going to keep giving you analysis, keep giving you actionable steps to take advantage of this, not just with the tools here at Stokastic, but if you're hand building, you've got the lineup generator that's going to be updated in real time coming up very, very soon as we start being able to process things. So many great tools. You want to check that out. Once again, to reiterate, 2 free months when you sign up at BetMGM. That is in the video description box below, so check that out. But initial thought, Anthony Melton probably out, even though we don't have that exact word yet.
I am seeing out on Melton.
Yep. It just followed it up, and DeAnthony Melton out.
Yeah, I guess they're pretty thin now. I mean, Shake Milton probably becomes a guy who sees a spike in playing time, right? I mean, you've got Maxey, Embiid, Tobias Harris, and PJ Tucker kind of locked in as the 4 starters. So we'll see who we saw the starting lineup. Who's starting alongside those guys?
I'm pulling up here. I mean, it's Thibault. Hang on, what did it just say? Update, available to play. Paul Reed is available to play. I think that doesn't matter, but Maxey, Thibault, Harris, Tucker, Embiid was the starting lineup.
Thibault. Okay, interesting. I never play Matisse Thibault. He's priced at the minimum. You know, I guess you could get. I just don't think you need to go there tonight. The guy has no scoring upside. Like, yes, he's got some peripheral upside, but it's just not, I don't know. I think on a slate with a ton of value, we don't really need to go there. For me, it's kind of just another win for Maxey, another win for Embiid. Like, the Sixers kind of seem like a team where you want to target the stars or nobody.
Yeah, I think what I'm worried about, and just going through the rotations the last couple of games, Melton's been playing right around 28 and a half minutes. That was on the 10th here. I think they can still just spread it around to a number of these guys, be it Korkmaz, Danuel House, Shake Milton. I'm with you. I think Shake Milton maybe is the most interesting who could actually spike something, but I doubt I prioritize him or I would get to him in any nominal way. Danuel House could just play, 22. It could be Shake Milton for 22, Furkan Korkmaz for 12, and then just a little bit more leash. I mean, Tyrese Maxey only played 33 in that last game. So, you extend him to 40 or something in a competitive game, like you saw against Phoenix the game before that. You're probably canceling out all of Melton's minutes in a pretty uninteresting way.
All right, I have pulled up the ownerships from the early games.
Oh, I'm ready. Can I play the guessing game? Because
of course.
Okay.
Who's the most rostered player
from the entire early window? Again, there were some popular games. You have Toronto, Indiana, Boston, Detroit. Oh, I will go.
Don't overthink.
Who do we have at the top? Well, Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, number 1.
Yeah.
55% owned. This is in the
ownership.
Yeah, this is in the 300K fadeaway on DraftKings. Derek White, number 2. You want to take a guess?
41%.
47 and a half.
Jesus. Okay, I will say I don't like either of those plays at that ownership. Neither does the boom bust tool. Like, it, not that you can't play a lot of Jason Tatum. It's not like I wouldn't have a lot of Jason Tatum on today's slate, but like, we have him at a 42% optimal percentage and Derek White at 37.7. It's almost like people saw that and they just jammed these two dudes. And now they're 55, 57, and 47. That's a lot of ownership.
It's a lot of ownership for sure. I don't mind the Tatum ownership. I mean, I played him in close to 50%. So I can't get too mad at the field for doing the same. Derek White feels aggressive at 47% ownership.
Who? Yeah, Derek White. Yeah, it's so bad.
So 2 other players with over 40% ownership. Big Miles. Big Miles 42 and Jaden Ivey 42.
That is a lot of ownership.
Yeah. Killian Hayes 40.
Marcus Smart, 48% of this guy after besmirching his good name. Again, starting, that's a completely different situation, people. If you can't process that, also, if you whatever. We're past that. Somebody said fade Derek White for Smart. What did Smart end up at?
36.5.
That's so much ownership on these dudes.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a drop off after that. Some of the Toronto guys are a little bit more reasonable. Gary Trent, who I talked up quite a bit, he's at 22.5%. That seems okay to me. Scotty Barnes is at 29. Let's see, OG is at 20. Thad checked in at almost 30. Yeah, these two games caught a ton of ownership. Quite a ton.
They should have.
Yeah,
I
not
can't
surprising.
argue against it.
Not surprising, but the highest non-injured guy, or not benefiting from an injury situation, was Miles Turner, but then Halliburton was at 21.5%.
Oh my God. If you have anything left in your lineups on the table, it's like going to be drastically underowned.
Yeah, lot of stuff.
This is the day where you want to get like Luka ruled out last second or something ridiculous to just really, really ruin the slate. I will say, Nurkic, we're still waiting on that. Now with the price bump that we've seen on Drew Eubanks, he was 22 and now 27 minutes the last two. Still interesting, I suppose, at 4,100. He was bumped up to 43 last slate, but if you get him and Jeremy Grant out, this slate becomes an absolute mess.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's probable, right?
He's probable. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, he's probable. I was just thinking about it as in the slate that I played last time 2 nights ago or whatever, where they were both questionable. Yeah.
Right. Him and Winslow are probable, so they'll be in there. So I don't think you necessarily need Drew Eubanks tonight, but Grant and Winslow would become interesting, I guess, if Nurkic sits. I mean, I don't have any Jeremy Grant at the moment, and I doubt I'll be able to late swap to him. It's just, I mean, I did end up with just a couple of shares of Zion, so maybe that could serve as a pivot spot. But it's a night where contests are going to be decided pretty darn quickly, I think. We always joke about how the first 10 minutes, it's like the night's over. It really might be tonight.
Yeah. And no Derek White, no cash, no Jason Tatum, no cash, no, God forbid, now that I besmirched him and then rostered a ton of him in my fake builds, Killian Hayes, no cash. That would be so great for tonight, just for the people upset the next day. I told Derek it was a terrible play. No, I told you it was a great play 10 minutes before the slate started.
I just can't wait. This is the night, Killian Hayes.
And ownership, that's wild. Could be wild. AAA asked, and I appreciate AAA because they do good things for my car when I'm in trouble. He asked, what was LaMarca's college football lock tonight again? He needs the repeat. He needs the goods one more time from the old Matt LaMarca Meister.
Yeah. Syracuse Orange Men, aka the Orange, plus 7.5 against Florida State.
So no more Seminoling, no more chop. The chop's dead, right? Like, we just shouldn't do that anymore. We're done with it. Chop.
Don't tell that to Braves fans. That's all you friggin' hear when you watch the Braves.
All I heard about from the Braves in October? Nothing. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I heard. I heard nothing from them this year. It's great.
What's your team? What's your team that you feel like you can just shit all over the NL East?
See, I knew this. The Twins. I'm dead inside. Please stop.
Come on.
Why would you? I don't know. I've been to 2 World Series championship games. How about you?
I've been to 1.
Okay. I was also 1 month old and 4 years old, but we can overlook that.
I went in 2015.
How nice for you.
So nah.
You're so trash.
You're like one of the only
Jacob
franchises
DeGrom's
that
going to
can't
look
make
great
fun of
in
the Mets.
Houston. Yeah, it's going to say. Good thing your owner is very practical, level-headed, and totally normal.
I don't care. He spends money.
He does spend money. I was going to say, that's all you really want from an owner, and not to be a psychopath, but
yeah, that helps. That helps.
You can't win. You can't win them all, I suppose.
Not to hire his drinking buddy to play head coach 6 days before an NFL game and then just go on this tirade about how you like him because he doesn't know what analytics are.
Yeah, Dave Clark, 1 month old, 1987. It was a beautiful, beautiful year. It's Twins Cardinals. My parents refused to not go to the game. They put headphones on me as a baby before people actually put headphones on babies. I don't know. I don't think that was a popular thing to do until later down the line, but they were just like, we are taking him to the Metrodome. It's inside and it is going to be loud and ruckus for our baby. And I just cried the whole time. Frank Viola pitched to Jim from what I recall.
Former Met.
Right. Of course you know that. Of course you know that. 91, I still don't remember it because I was 4. And if you remember anything from the time you were 4, that'd be insane.
I don't remember anything from when I was 14 for the most part.
That's probably the right way of looking at it. Mike Lawrence is like, when I was 4, I remember exactly where I was when the Philadelphia Eagles, but no, okay.
We already established he's a Bills fan.
Oh yeah, he's a fake. He works for the FBI. That's the bit.
Really?
Mike Lawrence working the YouTube streets at night as a cover for his daytime operation as a fake Phillies fan. It just is what it is. Yeah, he's got a camera right there. Absurd. Somebody said Blake season. No way.
Is Blake going off? We're 3 minutes into this game. It's his best chance of getting on the board.
All right. I love the live sweat aspect of this show. Also, I can't tell you how weird it is to look at my screen on ESPN and see 1 a.m. for these games as they get going. Blake.
Oh yeah, baby. Blake with a triple to start the game and a board.
Oh my Lord. Good Lord Almighty. Could you imagine if Blake Griffin, who starting I still didn't think mattered, were to like break this slate out of all the other value?
It's not happening.
Oh, I would be so crusty. That'd be so Crusty the Clown.
Killian Hayes on the board. He's 1 for 1 from the field.
My dude. My absolute dude.
You're
did the Astros
Killian
cheat?
Hayes
Yeah, they
fan.
did.
Eric Lindquist.
Again, I love chat for all the reasons that 99% of you guys are fantastic. And I will say the 1% I appreciate because it reminds me why I
can't
play
believe we
DFS
didn't
every
even
day.
make this connection. He's French, Eric. He's French. He's a French basketball player.
Oh, no, I thought he was Australian. Killian Hayes?
No,
He played in Australia. That's right.
But
He
he's
played in
French.
Australia that 1 year. Oh my Lord.
You probably saw
French
his house
to
earlier
American.
today.
Probably. He's from Lakeland, Florida, United States. That's a weird thing, but he is linked to French. Is he going to play on the national team there? These are things I must know.
Yeah,
Wild. Oh. If I had
he's got
known,
the
I would have
dual- he's
jammed
got the
him in
dual
all of
citizenship.
my. If I had known, I would have jammed him in all of my fake lineups. I would have played 100% lock button special to win $0 tonight. That would have been the best. Baguette night, Narrative Street, literally like Narrative Street down the corner.
Le Rue de Narrative.
God, I missed your face. I missed your ridiculousness. Winslow is out. What? Here we go. Yusuf Nurkic. Oh my God. Okay. Nope.
Oh.
This all came out a while ago when we started this, but we also did the live sweat. We have 14 minutes, so we have plenty of time. But this is a lot of news that just showed up. Let's go through it. Justice Winslow out. Keon Johnson out. Shaden Sharp available. Yusuf Nurkic game time decision. With Lillard and Simons there, I don't think we need to really be looking at getting crazy, giving anybody extra usage, whether that's Jeremy Grant. But we have no. So Jeremy Grant was always probable. I'm assuming he's just playing here now. Josh Hart.
Yeah, but
Yusuf
I mean,
Nurkic is a massive piece of news now.
Justice Winslow was probable too. And
Yeah,
he just
see?
hit the scrap heap. So yeah, who the hell knows? I mean, I guess if you have some flexibility left, maybe Drew Eubanks does become relevant all of a sudden. But I just don't have a ton of lineup space. I mean, between this game, I guess I could come down off some of these Miami guys, but I don't know if we're going to know before then.
Yeah, Dave Clark, do not review your lineups after the slate. If you see a 100K winner, you might get arrested in France. As soon as this show is over, I am deleting those lineups, never to be seen ever again, as long as I live, because I will not be okay. Because knowing myself, I'm going to go into lineup rewind. I'm supposed to be here on my anniversary, supposed to be, living it up here as our first like big adult trip where we weren't, where we're together. Cause I went to Italy last year by myself, but I was officiating a wedding. It was the height of COVID, but legitimately, this is like our first big trip together. And out of the middle of nowhere, if I am looking up whether or not I won 100K on Fantasy Cruncher lineup rewind tomorrow on my phone, and I see that I had not, I might commit something that gets me stuck in France for the next, I don't know, 40 to 50 years.
French prison could be worse, I feel like, you get coffee breaks, you get to smoke a stogie every once in a while. Could be worse.
All right. So let's figure this out. Did you watch The Wedding Singer? Obviously you did, because you're a human being.
Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I've seen that movie.
Robbie Hart. I just see Josh Hart here, and I keep running numbers. His rebounding rate, if you were to get no Yusuf Nurkic out there, would be through the roof. He's one of the best rebounding threes that exists. He's averaging 8.7 rebounds per game. A lot of that being alongside Nurkic and Jeremy Grant. Think about that for a second. That's pretty wild stuff for a 6'5" small forward.
One of the hardest hitting safeties in the league. Darren Sharp.
Darren Sharp. F you, Gumby.
Yes.
We're off the rails now. It must be 1:20 a.m. somewhere.
I don't know if you remember from our time together last year that I cherished so much. I am a Josh Hart guy. Like, Josh Hart is one of my dudes. So right now you can get his rebound prop is at 7.5. I think if Nurkic.
Oh, to the moon.
Yeah.
I think you should bet that ahead of time. You should bet that anyway.
So, I mean, 7.5 is kind of aggressive, but yes, I hear that. Right now we have it at
7.5. So no. 7.5 is about efficient. You would need Nurkic out, but there's also a minutes bump that you have to give him just slightly. I mean, he's already playing big minutes for this Portland team, but like, no Justice Winslow. How much more Trenton Wofford do they want? I mean, he's played 37, 35, and 38 minutes the last three Josh Hart has. That is a wild allotment of minutes.
It's true. And then 7 boards, 11 boards, 9, 7, and 9. So at least 9 in 3 of the past 5. Josh Hart's one of my guys.
You with the math, baby. You with the math. 10%, 3 of 5. I don't know what I would do without you.
I was a math major briefly in college until I ran into a little class called differential equations.
It was like my first day of engineering where I got up after like half an hour of just straight notes, and I just never saw an engineering room again. Just 30 minutes in, I said, I'm not going to be an engineer. That was a great shout out Iowa State, where dreams happen. Right there. Oh boy.
I was like, this feels a little aggressive for somebody who's probably going to be a math teacher. Like, I don't think I need to know this.
Yeah, guys, check out oddshopper.com here. We've got, once again, Mike Loris, MVP of the show. Definitely the most hottest hit and safety in the league. But you're looking at a number of the props from the games. You can go to the matchups specifically that haven't happened yet in the middle of the night. You can group it by Trailblazers, Mavericks, Rockets, Pelicans, Hornets, Heat, 76ers, Hawks. You can look at everything from that specific game. I will say, just keep in mind that the projections need a second to update with news that drops like that. Now, they did just update because they had 10 minutes and we were talking the whole time. But Josh Hart over 3.5 assists, I don't mind that one completely. 9% expected ROI. That looks really good. But looks like Spencer Dinwiddie over 0.5 blocks. I mean, if he shows up and gets a block in 1 out of every 4 games, you're almost breaking even on that kind of a number. I definitely think that there's more opportunity for him to get minutes. Where Dinwiddie's played so well the last few, even with Christian Wood returning, sometimes we get in the habit of just saying things are going to go back to the way they were. I think they need Dinwiddie's offense here coming off the bench and doing some effective things for this team. Now, 38 minutes a night, that's not going to happen. But with the amount of opportunity that I think he could get with the second unit, maybe getting a little bit of time alongside Luka Doncic more often now that we saw how well he can play in circumstances there. Dinwiddie to get over a block, I think really stands out on OddsShopper.
You make a compelling case. I'm going off the board. I'm going off the board. Jimmy Butler triple double tonight. Can I interest you in a little trip dub?
Oh my God.
Plus 1,400.
Oui. Oui. Une baguette. I'm terrible. Don't mind me. It's just fantastic. I love it. Hit that like button, everybody, too. We got to get this thing way north of 250 here. I know we only have, 1,000 people hanging out here left. Doesn't matter. You guys are my favorites. You guys are the real ones here, hanging out 23 minutes after lock, keeping me entertained into the wee hours. Emphasis on wee hours of the night here over in Pali. Off the wall. Hit that like button. Make me feel better about things as we get ourselves out of here very, very shortly. But 4-1 Jimmy Butler. I am very much interested.
14-1.
14-1. Oh, that's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
I said 4-1. I meant 14. I heard you the first time.
Let's check
Jaden
in
Ivey
real
just
quick.
came off the floor here. Well, nope, he's still on. 3 for 4 from the field, 7 points, 1 board. We've got Bogdanovich out there, no points. That's sad for the people in my Discord, that's for sure.
Yeah, nobody on Detroit really doing much outside of Ivy. I mean, Killian Hayes, 2 points, a board, and a steal. That's okay. That's not going to kill you at his salary. Blake Griffin predictably has not scored since his first 3-pointer. 4 guys, all with 3 points for the Celtics. So kind of, it looks like, I mean, it's early, right? We always joke around with this stuff, but those people who like really loaded up on these early games are not loving the start in both contests.
No, pretty slow pace, 14-12 there in Detroit, Boston. Boston number 1 in offensive efficiency this season. Killian Hayes for 3. It looks so much better here from France. Une baguette. Let's go. Feels so good. He's so good. I hope Killian Hayes goes for 80 tonight. I just do. I hope he sets some records and somebody comes in and tries to act like I didn't recommend playing him in half your lineups tonight.
Hey, and there's a rebound. Oh, Killian, it's all you, baby.
Killian killing it. I have some dad jokes today. You'd think this Eric was replaced by an Eric McPherson. That's what you would think tonight.
Oh, my good buddy. Sadly, I will not be doing my usual Sunday show. There he is in his Team France uni. But yeah, I won't be doing my usual Sunday show with EMAC this week. Got a little Friendsgiving tomorrow evening.
Over under. I hope Eric is there all week. I am here all week. So that's cool.
I mean, if you're going to leave the country, you might as well stay for at least a week.
That's what I'm going to do. Over under just being upset. I don't know what I did to deserve such blasphemy. I really don't care. Bogdanovich getting on the board there. But yeah, Jason Tatum starting to cook a little bit. Now he's up 6. Just knocked down a 3 there, adding it to the tally here. Let's check in on this Toronto and Indiana game as well. Jumping over there. What do we got? We've got, League Pass, of course. Why am I doing this? Just go to ESPN, Eric. Let's do this.
I don't know. Let's see.
Dumb. Gary Trent.
Buddy Buckets. Buddy Buckets off to a decent start.
Juancho Hernan-Gomez has entered the atmosphere. That's never a good thing to say. Oh my
Lord. That's what's his name? God damn it. Why am I forgetting? The movie.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Sixers, the Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, but what's his name in the movie?
Not Juancho Hernan-Gomez.
No, it's not.
The other Juancho Hernan-Gomez.
Bo Cruz. Thank you. Oh, Cruz checking in.
Oh, Cruz, I love that. Of Happy Gilmore, all the things. Probably there's a lot of people just wanting to say French things here in the chat. That's cool. I appreciate
You remember
it. Again,
the episode?
I wish I could have the Eiffel Tower view for you guys, but they turned it off at 11:45 p.m. here.
There was an
Wild thing to
episode
learn
of
today.
Dexter's Laboratory. You ever watch Dexter's Lab as a kid?
I did back in the day.
He had to learn French, and so his plan was he was going to learn while sleeping, and he put on like this record, but the record would skip, so it just said omelette du fromage over and over and over and over again, and that was the only phrase that he could say the next day. Omelette du fromage.
I think of that Kenan Thompson bit on All That, where he would like make up French stuff in the bathtub. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Pierre Escargot.
Would you like to rub my big toe? That was just like the weirdest jokes. And now he's been doing that for like 20 more years of his life on SNL. What a time to be alive, just like it is over here at Stokastic. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for us here as we start rounding out the show. Anything else that people need to know about their lineups here before we get ourselves out of here?
About their lineups? I don't know.
Nurkic news, we're still waiting. Jeremy Grant available to play.
Oh,
that just came
Nurk
in.
Nurk out. I repeat.
Oh boy. All
Nurkic.
right, go. Let's give some people some analysis on the way out. If you want to get to some Drew Eubanks at 4,100, please do so, because now you're sitting on some really, really good opportunity there. Jeremy Grant in, obviously, we were expecting him to be, so that doesn't really change it. But Josh Hart, still pretty interesting there. I'll take some shots in tournaments at 6,800. He's projecting out terribly, but like just from pure tournament upside with no Justice Winslow, I think there's a path to getting more minutes there. Well, not more than 38, because that seems to be like the limit for he's already playing infinity minutes. But I'm saying he could play 38 again, and you give me 38 minutes of a guy that can put up a double-double relatively routinely when he's playing 38 minutes. That's something that I'm going to be interested in on DraftKings with the double-double bonus. Anything else to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, Grant and Hart have both been priced up, so I don't think they're like priorities that you necessarily need to get to, but Drew Eubanks becomes a good piece of value at 4,100. So that's the guy that I think if you have some flexibility, and you should, it's not even 7:30, but I would get to Drew Eubanks if you still can.
He's 3,500 on FanDuel. He's the best value play period over there. So get to as much as you possibly can. Guys, that'll do it for us. Thank you to Mike Lawrence for all of this great work behind the virtual glass today. Thank you to my internet connection here for staying intact and letting me give the people the goods here. We had really nothing else. No other glitches. It was beautiful as we got along there. Matt LaMarca, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
It's been lovely spending time with everybody, especially you, Eric. I miss you so much. Have a good time on your vacation, and I don't know, go through the Arc de Triomphe for me. Pretend like you're at the it's the Tour de France. When you got to go through and like pretend you're on a bike or something.
Yeah, like Lance Armstrong without the doping.
I was gonna say it, but I
for
didn't.
Us.
But I didn't know if we're allowed to talk about him anymore.
You might as well. He's canceled. He's long gone. So we get ourselves out of here. Thank you so much, Matt LaMarca. He's awesome. I'm Eric. I'm pretty average, but bon nuit. We're out of here.